You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
And welcome once again to Truth, Justice, and the New England Pro Wrestling Way. I am your host, Matt Spectro, a.k.a. Tarzan Taylor. And as always, I'm joined by my fellow host. He is a former chaotic wrestling heavyweight champion, and he's a man who's a bit of a hypochondriac, Julian Starr.
What's going on, everyone? It's your boy here, the New Age Bam Bam Bigelow, Julian Starr. That's right, I'm going to come back to wrestling, Tarzan, and I'm going to be dressed as Bam Bam. Do you know why?
Because you're fat?
Oh, yeah, that's for one. But two, his gear always looked comfortable. It looked like a pair of pajamas. So
it did, kind of.
I feel like that's something I could pull off nowadays. Now, as far as being a hypochondriac, as I get older, I start to fear my mortality. So, and because I'm overweight, I always assume everything is going to lead to a heart attack in my life here. So you have to give me the benefit of the doubt, man. I just don't want to die.
I don't want you to die, neither do our listeners.
Well, that's because you'll have no one else to run this podcast for you.
Here we are with episode 13. 13's a very unlucky number. Do you think today's going to be unlucky?
Well, depending on our guest, based on his tenure in the past on other podcasts, we'll have to see as it goes. I mean, I have confidence that he is going to deliver, but I don't know. We'll see.
If you're new to the podcast, we are the premier podcast that exclusively discusses New England Pro Wrestling, the greatest era of wrestling in the country, as far as I'm concerned. But give the people a little bit more about what our podcast is all about.
Well, this podcast is about trying to get the truth. People in professional wrestling tend to be a bit too political, a bit too friendly. Well, Truth, Justice, and the New England Pro Wrestling Way is looking to break that mold. As Tarzan and I sit down with various guests discussing multiple topics, but trying to gain the point of the truth. We will dig, we will probe, no matter how uncomfortable it may become. We will be sure to deliver truth, justice, and the New England Pro Wrestling Way.
All right, before we jump into this week's guest and this week's topic, you ready for trivia?
Am I ever ready,
Well,
Tarzan?
You're at 500. You're 2-2 right now.
This
is your chance to get over.
Wait, did you say I'm up 500?
You're at 500. You're 2 right, 2 wrong.
Okay. I'm not sure what that means, but okay. Yeah. But
all right. Well, if you were perfect, you'd be 1,000%. 500 means you're halfway there.
Okay. All right. We're only halfway there.
We're going to get you over.
All right. So
you ready?
Yes. You made it easy for me so I can even out the score, right?
Last week I did, so I went a little harder.
Oh,
but
God.
I think you can get
Last week was easy, then I'm fucked. All
the host of the show, Matt Spectro.
Okay.
His entire career in chaotic wrestling, won one match. What future WWE superstar did I defeat?
Oh, my God. Is a future WWE superstar. It's Matt Spectro against, let's see, you worked, pretty sure you worked Tommaso at one point, but I don't think they would put you over him. I think there was a point. Did you work Danny E or you tagged with him? All right, I'm going to commit to Ivar.
I did wrestle Ivar, but I did not defeat him.
Damn it. All right.
We're going to give our guest the chance to answer that question in a minute. And on that topic,
there'd be no reason why he can't get the right answer.
I would think he would. He's got a pretty good memory.
I agree.
This week we're going to discuss something a little different.
Yes.
We're going to discuss the concept of getting over. Selling tickets, getting over with the people, getting over with the crowd, being not just necessarily a good wrestler or entertaining, but, you know, where the people are actually responding, liking you, buying a ticket to see you, things like that.
So we're going to talk about realistically the difference between being a good wrestler and a good worker. What the difference between a worker and a wrestler are, and the benefits of one another.
Well, there's a lot of debating on how to word it, how to phrase it. We're going to get into all that on our show with our special guest. He is a former two-time Chaotic Wrestling Heavyweight Champion, a former Chaotic Wrestling Tag Team Champion, a former NEW Tag Team Champion. He's a former NECW Tag Team Champion, a former Top Rope Wrestling Tag Team Champion, and a former CTWE Tag Team Champion. He is the one, the only, with a U, the sure thing, Mark Shurman.
Hey, put that cigarette out, Tarzan.
Welcome to the show.
How's it going?
How you doing, buddy?
Pretty good.
How's life treating you?
Not bad. Not bad.
Are you glad to be out of wrestling?
For the most part. I do miss it.
You miss the 10 minutes of fame
Yes.
every night?
I got 4 minutes.
All right, episode 13. 13's usually bad luck, so...
Well, I'm here. Look no further, fella. I'm here.
We're up. It's up to you, pal, to change the outlook on the number 13 and make this a fun, lucky episode.
What about Taz? He was 13, wasn't he?
Oh, was he?
The mood's about to change. 13, I had a T-shirt.
I'll admit I'm a little fearful of this episode being a train wreck, but
You know.
I'm willing to give it the benefit of the doubt. Some people say you're going to be a terrible guest.
I
but,
think he's going to
some.
be a fantastic guest.
Before we get into our topic, I'm going to ask you the trivia question. The host of this show, Matt Spectro, in his chaotic wrestling career, won one match. What future WWE superstar did I defeat?
Was I around? Because I have a guess if I wasn't
I think
around.
you might have been at the school, but you hadn't had a match yet.
I was
know.
going to say Fred Sampson, but
Ding, 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 ding. What?
I wasn't there.
Fred Sampson, a.k.a. Darren Young.
I was like, I don't remember Tarzan winning a match when I was
the
Omega
one
Security.
match I was victorious in. All right. It's the second time a guest has gotten a question that you have got wrong.
Bull. I didn't even think of Fred Sampson. I was thinking like current guys. I'm like Tommaso, Ivar, Mike Bennett. I couldn't think. Well, Mike Bennett's never really wrestled for Chaotic, at least in my tenure there.
Yeah, he's had a couple of matches, not a lot.
Yeah. So, God, that's extremely
All right,
frustrating.
Sherman. So this week we're going to discuss a little bit about you personally, but we're also going to discuss the concept of getting over with the crowd. It's been, hand in hand with wrestling, going back to the, as far as wrestling's been concerned, of
Yeah.
you selling a ticket. And there's been different things that have changed over the years of what exactly sells a ticket. Hulk Hogan at one point, is what sold a ticket. The Rock Steve Austin at one point sold a ticket. I don't really know who today you would say sells a wrestling ticket.
I think the last
The
guy-
brand, WWE, the brand.
Yeah, I think wrestling, the brand, like not so much the brand, but just wrestling in general. Professional wrestling, I think, draws, and it depends on what. But as far as WWE goes, yeah, that's 100% correct.
So we're going to give people a little bit of your background first before we get into our topic. And just tell the people out there, which you might have discussed in another podcast, what moment did you decide professional wrestling was something for you?
I always loved it growing up. And I honestly, once I started hitting the gym to bang girls, like that was like my thing. When I really wasn't gonna be a wrestler until about college.
Are there a lot of loose women at the gym, or you just thought you'd be
No,
in shape?
like
and you,
I was scrawny. I was a string bean, and I was the senior year of high school. I got a lot of the young girls, and then I went into college, and I was now the young freshman, and all the older kids again were getting the girls, and I was like, oh man, I'm gonna have to hit the gym. So I hit the gym, and I took it seriously, and I started to look like a wrestler, and it was my favorite show, and I was like, maybe I can do this.
Were you nerdy in high school, or
I was like the class clown.
Okay, so but you weren't like exactly the ladies' man at the time? Because I'm wondering,
Like mid high school, I started getting girls, but like for the most part, you're right. No, I didn't get girls until I hit puberty.
because you're saying your motivation was like to get into the gyms because you wanted to bang women. I didn't know if like at the time you were just like, I don't understand why women aren't talking to me. Well, I'm going to make them talk to me once I get good looking. Like, or were you just?
I mean, I'm a handsome guy, you know that.
Yeah.
But I just needed any edge I could get.
I got you.
To get the prettiest girls or whatever.
I got
so you wanting to bang women is what led you to wanting to be a professional wrestler.
It started with banging chicks, and then I started hit the gym.
Because I got to be honest, all of us heterosexual men, we want to bang women. It doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily all lead us to being professional wrestlers.
Once I looked the part, then I took it and I was like, maybe I can be a professional wrestler.
So have you always been a fan of professional wrestling?
Yeah.
Since when?
1991, I was hooked.
Oh, sick. I was 2 years old.
You know,
But okay, so since 1991, you've been hooked, but even as a kid, you didn't look and say that's like because for
I
me,
thought about it.
For me, when I looked at it on TV, I immediately said, I don't care what else I do in life. That's what I'm doing for the rest of my life. You didn't have that mindset, or you're just like, I just love this.
I just love this. I never thought I want to be like a Todd Pettengill. Like I was like, maybe I won't be able to be like 7 feet tall like the Undertaker, but maybe I could host the TV show like Todd Pettengill and put over the stars kind of thing.
So you like were very character driven, pretty much from the get go. Like that was
those are my favorite wrestlers. Whether like, and a lot of them didn't even take a bump like a Bobby Heenan, you know.
But you even liked people like Todd Pettengill, who wasn't so much a wrestler, but he was trying to get the scoop and asking questions. And
he was a salesman for WWE, making you want to buy the pay-per-view.
And you enjoyed watching him talk and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was the same way. I enjoyed him. I wasn't like, that wasn't what drove me, but I did enjoy listening to people
even
like
Vince
Todd.
McMahon did a good job at it. You know, he gets knocked for his commentary in the early 90s, but like I got excited when he talked. You know, like even the open for WrestleMania 8, you know. Or all the WrestleManias, Royal Rumble, when he describes all the guys one by one. Hercules!
All right, well, I mean, we all know what we liked and we knew what was over, but I don't know if when we were children or fans, we really knew why somebody was over. And sometimes I don't think you could even explain it. Like, I don't think you could explain, like, why is Hulk Hogan over to a T, you know?
Before you get to that, I just wanted to...
That's why I think it's such a hard concept, because there's no one answer to this is what it takes to get over.
But before we get to that, just because I'm really trying to hammer home like what got you, like what made you fight the decision, or get to the decision of, all right, I'm going to start training, because you started training pretty late in your life. Yeah, because it's one of the things you always say all the time is that you started training very late in life. Why at that point? Why not right out of high school or anything like that?
So I graduated college. There was like a recession. 08, 09, 010-ish. And it was like tough finding a job. And I was like, I could be miserable with an entry-level job. But when I like chased my, like, it became a dream. Like it was on my mind once I got in shape, like early 20s. I actually stopped by the school maybe 06 and saw Tommaso, Brian Black, Kofi. And I sat like in Fury's seats, you know what I mean? And I was like, I wasn't ready yet. Like, but it was on my mind. And you know, the recession hit, and I wanted to then chase a dream. You know, I looked in the mirror. I was like, I can do this. Let me see if I can do it, kind of thing. So it was like timing. If I had a good job out of college, I probably wouldn't have attempted it.
Okay. So at the time you went to the school, you saw what you liked, and you were like, okay, I think I could do this, just not right now. So you felt like you weren't ready. How long did you wait after that moment?
Like 3-4 years. I graduated college, tried to look for a good job. Then I got stuck with like an entry-level job at GE, and was like, you know what? I'm gonna try this. You know, it's Tuesday nights, Thursday nights, Saturday morning kind of thing, and I hit the gym every day anyways. So let's try it.
Now, at the time after you started doing it and you started trying it, did you do it because you were working an entry level job and you were thinking, if I make this work, I won't have to work an entry level job anymore. I'll just make money in professional wrestling.
Yeah, that, and I wanted to know all the secrets behind the magic too.
Okay.
All right. So at the time you came in, and who would you say, in your opinion, at that point was over in the WWE, as well as you're coming into Chaotic? Who do you think was over?
It was
at
like
that time?
It was like the prototypical 6'2", 220 guys. Like the Chris Masters were around.
Probably closer to 240.
But, I mean, who do you think was actually over with the fans for both Chaotic and WWE?
John Cena
at that time. Okay.
John Cena was the guy in WWE. What about Chaotic Wrestling?
I watched Chaotic when I was 16, 17 when it first opened, and then I started dating girls and fell out of the local scene. But I remember on WWE.com that Cena show with you know what I'm talking about? And I was like, oh, Chaotic. They're actually making things happen over here.
Yeah, I saw that too, and I was like, holy shit. Like, they got John Cena and Vince McMahon?
Yeah. So I was like, if I'm going, like, this would be perfect. And I, not for nothing, I lived in Andover in my parents' basement after college, and the school was in North Andover. So it was kind of a no-brainer. It was a convenience factor. A bunch of the stars aligned for me to, you know, go to wrestling school.
At that point, I believe Brian Malonis was the Chaotic Heavyweight Champion.
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken, if my memory serves correctly.
I'm Handsome, or Fury, one of the three.
Current ROH superstar, Brian Malonis.
I'm pretty sure
maybe
Malonis
Chase
was, and I'm pretty sure the Chase was Chase. Like, the chase of the title was Chase Del Monte going for the title. I believe those two were feuding at the time, because if you started a couple years after me, Chase at the time that I started was the guy chasing the title from Malonis, and he was over to the point of, if he walked through the curtain, everyone was on their feet, screaming to the top of their lungs. I'd never seen anyone more over in the Independence than when I had seen Chase Del Monte do an entrance. I was so confused because I didn't think that all of this existed. So it was new for me personally.
And I also went to the Hot Dog Safari one year in like the early 2000s and saw like, looking back, it was Gorman, DC, Eddie Edwards, the NECW Hot Dog Safari. So, and like, I was like, that'd be cool to like wrestle in a crowd and like have like at a Hot Dog Safari and have, you know, everyone watching you. Like that was another factor too that played on early on.
All right, so we're going to talk about you just a little bit more before we get into a little more concept getting over. And what would you say was your first experience like at the school? Was it something you took to immediately or no?
No, I mean, you guys were there. I walked in. I actually, after the fancy camp, I signed up, and on the first class, I ran in the ring and got on the aprons and posed, and they're like, get the hell off the ropes. What do you think you're doing, idiot? And I was practicing my entrance, you know, in the first class.
Yeah. Shurman was
I had a long way to go.
But what was your first, I guess, reaction or your outlook on the school? When you
Shit,
walked
this is
in?
hard. Fuck.
Okay. What was the first thing they had you do?
Lock up.
Okay. All right.
Like, remember we stay on the outside and you do the lock. I think I did with you probably.
Probably.
You know, like 100 times. Actually, I started the day Pat Matthews and I started on the same day. And then we sat out there for like the whole class and like locked up. And
I believe you had good company. I believe in your training class were WWE superstar Oni Lorcan and Sasha Banks, if I'm not mistaken.
she came like 3-4 months after. But Julian was like one of the best students there. Greeley was there. Mike Nice, Omega.
Yeah, because at that time, just before you showed up, my class was Elia.
Elia was
Tony
there.
Bennett, Oni Lorcan, Greeley.
Bennett was like fading out. Like he was only around like a month. He was your tag partner, right?
Who's that? Tony Bennett?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he was fading out, and when I was coming in.
Did you find any of this discouraging?
Yeah. I cried in my car a lot, and like Biff talked me off the ledge. Julian talked me off the ledge. I was like, even hitting the ropes hurt. Like stuff you don't think about. Like you really don't think about. Like I had to build a callus underneath my armpit, like to hit the ropes, and there's a lot of cardio and a lot of memory that wasn't ready for. And, you know, I was like, damn, if I ever get on a show, it's not going to be because of my wrestling.
When you started at the school, did you ever think, did you have it in your mind, or did you look at everything around you and say, like, this place there's a lot of cliques, there's a lot of friendships, there's like, I don't feel like I could fit in, or was it welcoming and you were like, man, I feel like I can fit in with everyone, I feel like everyone likes me, I feel like this is a very welcoming environment? Like,
it's somewhere in the middle. Like I had a couple of buddies, like you were acquaintance, like Biff, I took to Biff, Greeley, Elia, you know, I in the beginning, like I found some people who like were in the same boat as me. But there were people in there trying to weed you out, unlike now, you know, like where everyone, come on in. Even if, you know, they wanted to weed a lot of people out. And after I sat there the first year, you know, like I at least saw 100 people come and go out of that place.
And you say discouraging. Was it the physicality you found discouraging, or was it the attitude or the way you were treated?
A little bit of I mean, it wasn't it wasn't bad enough for me to quit. There was days I wanted to cry and quit, but I was like, I know in my heart, like I could outshine these guys.
why do you feel it is that, I mean, I know the answer, but why do you feel it is that wrestling schools in general, if not Chaotic Wrestling or the CTC at the time, why do you feel like they were tough on people, or that they were more or less trying to push people out the door, or make, like you said, like trying to weed people out?
I mean, the reality is, my dad always told me, if they're not tough on you, then that's where the problem is. They don't give a shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like, in retrospect, in the moment, in the snapshot, it sucked. But when they stop caring, like, there's probably students now, like, that Fury just says, yeah, whatever, you know? And lets them just come and he collects a check off them. But like, if they're riding you, it really is a good thing.
That's what I try to tell them.
All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about getting over, and we'll discuss everyone's opinion here. At the time, we said Chase was the most over guy in Chaotic. Let's get everyone's opinion on why you would think that is. Personally, I think a major factor was Chase is a very life of the party kind of a guy. He's very excitable, very happy. People, in my opinion, want to be around the life of the party. The life of the party attracts people. I think, and I wouldn't, and this is wrestling, Chase, solid. I've always said Chase is a guy you can put anyone in there with, and he'll get a good match. But more so than his wrestling, in my opinion, I think being the life of a party is infectious, and I think that's, to my opinion, why he was so over at that time.
Yeah, I mean, I sat as Omega Security when he came out to Bon Jovi and got the crowd rocking and rolling, and I took mental notes of what worked for him and put them in my memory bank. So, when it was my turn, I can take some mental cues. And, I was taking mental notes watching the whole show because at the time when I was Omega Security, literally, we had a hell of a roster, top to bottom. A bunch of the guys are in WWE, Ring of Honor, all the above right now. And then some guys who should have made it that never made it. You know what I mean? So, the bar was high to get on that goddamn show. And I was a little worried. How can I make my own path? How can I differentiate myself from all these great wrestlers? Because I might not ever get that good.
And my opinion on the matter actually touches upon what you just said, Mark, was he was the bar was high, but it was also if you looked at the Chaotic roster at the time, you had someone like Fred Sampson, who was 6'1", looked like he was 240. You had Brian Malonis, who is, I think he's 6'3", and he was I don't know how big he is then. He was probably over 300 pounds. And then you had, Ivar on the show, who was 6'3".
They're all taller than me now.
I'm just saying, they were all more or less giants.
Yeah, they're
in the
big boys.
independents. And then you look at Chase Del Monte, and this is where I believe that wrestling doesn't come into play. Is everyone on the Chaotic roster, for the most part, was a damn good wrestler, and they all knew how to work. They all knew how
until I came around.
They all knew how to wrestle. But then, like you said, you look at Chase Del Monte, and one, he's different. He's not 6 feet tall or whatever. He is probably maybe 5'11", maybe 6'10", 6 feet tall. And, he's probably 200 pounds, maybe, but he's smaller than everyone. He's flying around more than everyone. And like you said, he's the life of the party. He was a different breed in Chaotic wrestling than everyone else. So he was able to stand out, and he also had just like you said, life of the party. It works to this day now for Chase.
Yeah, like Kevin Nash always said, you can't teach cool.
Yeah.
No, I agree. And what gets over is always changing with the times. What was over in the 80s won't necessarily mean now. You can make an argument Hulk Hogan might not have gotten over in today's world of wrestling.
I mean, if you had to memorize a paragraph, he ain't getting over, believe me.
For Hulk Hogan not getting over today,
it's funny though, him and Ric Flair at 75 years old, they're limping out there for Crown Jewel, the crowd still goes wild. That says a lot. Without taking a bump, you're like Ric Flair on Cumberland Farms commercials. He's on rap songs. He's cooler now than he was in 1992. It's and people respect that charisma.
All right, so we're gonna go back to you a little bit now. I mean, the problem with wrestling now, I think, is there isn't anybody like that really anymore. There's not someone who is bigger than the business. That's how you knew someone really was over.
I think CM Punk was the last one.
Yeah, and Cena and CM Punk, I think, were the last two. And Hulk Hogan in the 80s, he was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. He was in People Magazine's most 25 influential people. That's how you knew you really were over, when you were
mainstream.
You were mainstream. You were bigger than the business, and there isn't a lot of that anymore. I don't think now.
WWE set it up that way. They were creating monsters that were. Hogan went to WCW in '94. Batista left to go to the movies. So it's one of those deals where I think they now want to create a bunch of B-plus players so they can keep them under their brand.
You want them to have them under control. So you feel like if you create someone who is bigger than the business, then they're going to realize their talent, realize their worth, and be like, I can do way more outside of this company.
Jericho.
And so they leave and become bigger successes than they were in WWE. But WWE is what launched them. So what in your mindset is that they want to not let anyone get bigger than the business, therefore they can control. Over. There you go.
So we all think it when we start training as a wrestling. But describe, you must have thought in your head, I'm going to get over. I'm going to be more popular than these guys. I'm going to get more of a reaction than these guys.
Initially, yes. And then my bubble burst real early, and I was like, I might never even get on the goddamn show. I was like, I'm in deep shit.
Why did you feel that way?
Because they put me in my place early at Chaotic, the training center.
When you say that, what do you mean they put you in your place early?
I gotta dive in I try to block out bad moments, but I don't know. They did it to you too, man. Like you know exactly what I'm talking
That's
about.
what our listeners want to hear. Let's get some details.
I know you don't want to go into it.
You were there.
I know you don't want to go into it. So, was it because they were like, it's no secret, you weren't exactly great in the ring.
Correct.
You weren't a good wrestler.
I was a pussy too.
You were afraid to be hit. You were afraid to
hurts.
take
Some
a
of the
hit.
shit hurts.
Yeah, and it's honestly, you have to have some sort of a masochist attitude about it. I liked getting hit. I liked the feeling of being hurt almost because I don't know. Sometimes where it hurts, it also feels good to me. I know that's going to sound fucked up, but
you're a sicko. No, but honestly, like I'll tell you the truth too. At the time, I also was a bouncer at a nightclub, so I always had my guard up. I was in fistfights in the Boston scene for clubs, but I never gave my body to someone. That was a new concept for me.
But when you say they humbled you, did they shit on you and tell you like you're not good or that you're never going to get over?
Yeah,
or,
you were there. Tell me, you keep rattling them off.
So what? Mark Shurman doesn't want to go down this path, so I'll go down it for him. He basically, when Mark Shurman was training with us, he got ridiculed a lot for being a shitty wrestler. Now,
I mean, I was.
Yeah. At the time, the only sole trainer at the time was Brian Fury, correct?
No, it was all three of them the first year.
You were there when it was Malonis, Todd, and okay.
Honestly, it wasn't as bad as they make it out to be. Like there was moments, 80% of the time they were good. They were all good. There was that 20%.
The 20%.
You're never going to get on shows you're a pussy, blah blah blah. Which they're not wrong about anything they said. And I stuck it out, and I got slowly better to a point where I could get on shows. That was my main goal. Figure out the psychology and the actual memorization of the spots, and I had to do that, and I had to get my cardio up a little bit.
So when you say they humbled you and almost brought you back down to earth, is they didn't make it seem like it was just going to be easy, hey, I'll learn a bump, learn a clothesline, all right, you're on shows, go kill it.
Yeah.
You realize that you're, like you said, you're going to have to learn the psychology. You're going to have to learn to memorize shit. You're going to have to learn how to bump correctly, how to take shots correctly, how to throw shots correctly. And you thought probably it was going to be easier because you said you were an athlete back in the day. You played basketball and stuff.
A little basketball, a little weightlifting. I was a gym class hero.
So for the most part, you were kind of an athlete. So when you jumped into this, you were probably holy shit, this is way harder than I thought it was going to be.
It's even leapfrogs are jumping for the highest rebound over and over again. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, but Shurman took a verbal beating more or less when it came to training because a lot of the trainers there were so keen on being good wrestlers and they weren't so focused on entertainment, which is what Shurman's forte is. So when Shurman was training, Shurman wanted to be the best entertainer, whereas Brian's like this to this day, Fury, but a lot of people there were you need to be a great wrestler. And so where Shurman failed at that, we looked at it, a lot of people looked at it as, this kid's not going to fucking do anything in life because he can't even take a clothesline without flinching like a ball's getting thrown into his face. So
do you feel you're being singled out, or do you feel everybody was getting this treatment?
I got it a little bit worse than others, but honestly, in retrospect, I needed it, or I wasn't gonna ever get on shows. If they never did that, I would I would have just.
You took it as motivation.
Yeah, I mean, I weirdly like hearing the truth. Yes, it's in the moment. I get frustrated. Yeah, there's a lot of frustration in wrestling school.
And like I've always said, you can agree or disagree. You can't really teach someone how to get over. So, do you feel you were taught just how to wrestle, or were you ever taught how to be a character, how to get over, how to sell tickets, how to have a personality?
I knew that from watching. That's all I knew from the actual wrestling. They taught me how to wrestle, and I did everything else on my own.
But what he's asking is when you were at the school, when you were learning, were they? I know they solely focus on footwork, how to wrestle, how to do the actual in-ring, the action.
Yep.
But did they teach you how to be a character, how to cut a promo, how to potentially get over?
A little bit, like the actual formula, like we did a 60-second or the fridge. The gimmicks where we sat by the fridge and did a little storyline. Once a month we'd do that. But overall, I was over with I got over with the students, like when I wasn't on shows. Like you would laugh at my shit, Biff would laugh, like Greeley. Like I became like the class clown of the school, and they're like, "Oh, this kid has it."
Because you were naturally entertaining.
Like, I'd make Fury laugh. He'd be angry and then turn around and smile. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, because we used to be like, this guy is out of his mind. I don't understand how he's a functioning human being. But to go back, it sounds like you were basically just thrown in situations to cut promos, but did they actually teach you, like, this is what you want to do, this is what you don't want to do, this is how this can be delivered, or like, did they
to a point, but I knew it from
just watching,
like being a fanatic of pro wrestling. Like I knew, I've heard 1,000 promos.
Well, I got kind of two questions. The first one would be like, a lot of times students, I've seen a lot of them, myself included, thought we knew better. Did you ever have that attitude? Like, who the fuck are these guys? What the hell are they telling me? Like,
what have they ever done?
Yeah.
Yeah. And like I sat in the parking lot with Julian or Biff, and they'd say the same goddamn thing.
All right. So would you say it's ever led to a clash where you would get into an argument or a disagreement, or you would just sort of just do your thing and just leave it in the back of your mind and unload later on in private? Or do you think this clashed with you and any of your trainers?
I mean, Fury kicked me out like 3 or 4 times, but like...
What for?
Arguing back and forth.
So like you opening your mouth?
Me sticking up for myself, opening my mouth, yes. But like in retrospect, seeing it through Fury's lenses, I was a student. What the fuck is this kid? Like, get the fuck out. Like, I get it.
So were you... Okay, so you had a tendency as a student to... And again, I don't know, because I can hear it and that's what it sounds like to me, but I don't know what your intentions are. Every time Brian asked you for feedback or questions or anything like that, it always seemed like you were trying to pull something out of your ass because you felt like that's what he wanted to hear. Was that how you were thinking, or was those genuine reactions or genuine responses to his questions?
It's been a while since I thought about that, but I don't remember. Like, it's a blur back then, but probably I was an asshole.
All right. So what I'm trying to say is, if Brian was like, "What were you thinking at this spot?" or did, how did you think your match was, or how did you think your shine was just then? Yeah. It almost seemed like you would come back with an answer where you were like, "I think I could have thrown more clothes." Like, it sounded like you were digging for something, that you were almost trying to figure out what he wanted to hear, and so you were like, "I'm going to deliver the answer he wants to hear, so he'll just leave me alone."
Part of the outcome I was looking for is for him to like back off me, but I had no idea what the hell
he was asking. Or
yeah, like
looking
that's
for.
why like I sucked. I didn't know what I didn't. It didn't click for a while. I'll tell you that much.
Well, I could see you might not even realize this. I think part of the problem and a lot of the reason why people got so frustrated, you're almost the exact opposite of every student that made it onto a show. Like, you'd have students walk in there and they could bump and they could run and they could jump, but you couldn't get them to make a goddamn sound. You couldn't get them to show an ounce of personality whatsoever. You were the exact opposite. You came up overflowing with personality, couldn't shut you up, but you wouldn't take to the actual athletics all that much. So I think that's, people were so used to dealing with people that didn't talk but would take to it eventually, and you were kind of the exact opposite.
And to play on what Tarzan's saying is, I think that's why you rubbed a lot of people wrong outside of the in-ring stuff, where it came to hanging out in the locker room, hanging out at the school, doing whatever, is because, as said this over and over again, wrestling is heavily introverted people, and you were an extrovert. You are an extrovert. And so where introverted people get exhausted by people like you, and so when we're in a area of just solitude and we're just like, I just want to be left alone and just I'll go out there and do what I got to do when I have to do it, where you're always on and you're always like, hey brother, hey this, blah blah blah, what did you say, blah, blah, and you're just consistently rambling over and over again. People are like, Jesus fucking Christ, shut up.
That might be why Scotty hates me.
It's true. I mean, if you think about, like, even Scotty Slade, like, he is, for the most part, I think, an introvert extrovert. Like, he's an extrovert when he needs to be, but for the most part, he doesn't go out of his way to go hang out with everyone and be the life of the party, and he likes to hide in the background. So when someone like you comes along, it gets frustrating, it gets exhausting, it gets annoying, but it takes a certain type of person to be able to almost understand you, and that's why you did take to people like Biff, me,
Ilya Greeley.
Ilya Greeley, so because all of us could actually
Mercedes
watch you,
came along.
yeah, and we could decipher like, oh, he's just an extrovert, and I'm not exactly that type of person, but he's fun to watch. So,
yeah, I mean, I think early on there was a handful of like the chaotic roster that hated my guts, and then over time I warmed up to all of them. Maybe because they saw I hung in there and I stuck it out, and and then there's still probably 5 or 6 people that genuinely didn't like me, and all the way to when I was champion and when I started going over the mountain and down the hill, those 6 people probably want nothing to do with me.
Well, we'll talk about Scotty later in the show, but when he was on the show, he did say the words does not hate you. So I just want to
I don't hate him. Honestly, I wish him the best. I wish, I'll get this out of the way now. Like, I wish he saw the big picture. Like, our best chance to make WWE was together and not separate. So, like, I wish he hung in there with me, and we could have had our best chance at going somewhere.
Well, on that note, we had him on the show. He said he went to a Ring of Honor camp.
Yeah, Mike Bennett
tryout, and
Mike Bennett walked up to me. He was
they
like,
asked about you and said, "We heard a lot about you and your tag partner. And your partner's not here." And he said that you said you didn't want to go.
Nope, I didn't. Never got invited, not once. I would have went.
Now,
Scotty never invited me.
Ring of Honor camps they're not really invites. You just sign up.
Yeah, like he never said, "Hey, I'm signing up. Like, do you want to sign up with me?" He never.
So there was never a conversation between one of you.
Not once.
So you probably. I'm not going to play devil. I'm not picking sides here. But did you know about the camp?
Yeah, they're in Philadelphia quarterly at the time.
All right, and you didn't choose to go because why?
I didn't want to pay $350 for Ring of Honor. My goal was WWE.
Fair enough.
But if Scotty's like, "Hey, let's try to get Ring of Honor. I'm signing up for the camp. You want to let's just try it." I would have done it.
So I guess it sounds like Scotty Slade almost like wormed the story into making you look like an enemy. Because if he says that you said you didn't want to go,
nope,
to me that prefaces a previous conversation that you guys had where you said, "No, fuck that."
I will. On the Jewish gods, I swear to God, he never said, "Let's carpool together. I got a ticket. You go get one. Let's ride down together. Let's try to get signed by Ring of Honor." That conversation never happened. The conversation I did have with Mike Bennett and Taven walked up to me, and they said, "Hey, your tag team partner." We asked, he cut a promo, and we asked, "Where's your partner?" And he said, "I don't associate with that kid." And that was the comment he said in front of everyone. And Bennett was like, shaking his head,
So it's almost like Scotty Slade tried to separate himself from you early before.
I mean, I think that was towards the end of the beginning of the end. Maybe that was the beginning of the end.
So you're saying he never even told you he was going?
Correct.
What do you feel like, in your opinion, made Scotty Slade want to separate from you? Do you think it was was it your wrestling? Was it your business sense? Where you?
No, I made him some money. We sold some T-shirts together, some friendship bracelets. I wanted to make money.
But as far as dealing with promoters and stuff, for lack of a better term, were you dealing with promoters now at that time like a jackass?
If the promoter only wanted me, I would beg them to bring Scotty in. I'd rather send the apron, do the whole deal. I loved working with him. It was a night off when I had Scotty, and I hated wrestling singles for the most part. So if a promoter in Springfield or Maine or wherever, Connecticut's like, "We just want you, not your partner." And I was like, "Please," like APW. And sometimes they would say, "Fine, bring him in," and sometimes they wouldn't.
Were you tough to deal with at that time in your career? Like, were you a little hard towards promoters, or did you say things a little outlandishly that are not exactly accepted?
Nope.
Because
I wrestled everywhere.
I'm not speaking for Scotty, but I know Scotty's personality, where if he feels there is a toxic situation going down, like in this case, let's just use Mike O'Brien for an example, just because I know you worked on EW. If you spoke down to Mike O'Brien or said something out of the ordinary to him, Scotty would look at you, and immediately, because Scotty's been training forever, he knows that you almost want to separate from what you would consider a quote-unquote poisonous person.
Yeah.
So if you're starting to do that, I can see Scotty being like, "I need to get away from this guy before he ruins my career."
Mike O'Brien and I...
He's just an example. I'm using promoters across the board.
Yeah, they all love me.
Okay.
I was the most like wherever I went. Look, how many I won a title in every fucking.
And you're
company.
humble too.
Yeah.
So
Literally, like everywhere I went, I was like. You can ask Sheldon Goldberg, top to bottom. Like you can ask anyone, the CTWE, Joey.
So, in your opinion, what was the reasoning? Why? What, in your opinion, in your outlook, why would Scotty Slade want to separate from you?
I'm thinking, like he saw me getting the championship title. Didn't he pitch to you to win the chaotic title, Tarzan? Tell the truth.
Yeah, no, I told the truth. The guy came up on the episode he was on. We talked about how he pitched.
He had his own desires, and like he didn't tell them to me. Like he was like, "No, Mark, I want to tag with you." And then behind the scenes,
Do you think
Tarzan would walk up to me like, "Hey, your tag partner wants to win the title." Like I would hear it from Malonis, from everywhere else that like Scotty wants to do his own, and I'd confront Scotty, "Hey, like, are we together or what are we doing here?" No, don't believe them. Like, I want to be with you.
So it sounds like what you're saying is Scotty almost wanted to have a singles career. And do you feel like he felt like, because you said you were winning all the championship stuff, do you feel like he felt overshadowed by you, so he wanted to separate himself from you so he can create his own brand?
I mean, that's up to him to decide. It's I never wanted to feel that way. I loved working with him. Some of my buddies would tell me like, "What? You don't need him. He's riding he's riding your coattails."
Yeah.
And I bet you some of his buddies were like, "You're riding Shurman's coattails," like blah blah blah. And that definitely.
So you think they got in his head? And
Yeah,
that's what
definitely.
forced him out.
Like,
because I thought you guys were a very successful.
we
tag
never
team.
we never fought that often. Like he'd come to our house, we'd film videos. Like for them, like we weren't like buddies outside of work, but like we got along. And he's a smart kid, and I respected his entertainment too. He was just as good as me. He was smaller, but like we clicked and connected.
Well, on the other side of it, I mean, you guys were a tag team, a unit,
Yeah.
but you were getting more of a singles push in some places.
Correct.
So can you really blame Scotty
No.
for wanting the same for himself?
No,
All right.
This is a good segue into why were you getting a push over Scotty Slade? What exactly?
what do you think?
What are you actually?
You look in the mirror.
Let's talk about it, because that seems to be that's our subject of today's episode. Is what actually gets someone over? What's the difference between being a good worker and a good wrestler? And so when it came to booking Mark Shurman, as now you are deep into your career, you start tagging with Scotty Slade, you guys are getting over as a unit to the point where, and correct me if I'm wrong, other promotions are reaching out because they're like, we too want team friendship, because what we're seeing in chaotic videos is super entertaining and people are paying to see it. You're creating a following, which there at the time were the Sure Maniacs, who came up with T-shirts and slogans and fatheads and
All the above.
So you're drawing fans that probably like thought was okay and thought the show was fine, but now they're seeing someone like you and they're like, I love watching this guy, and then Scotty to follow. So with that said, what do you think got you over the most? And I know you said it's pretty obvious, but I want to hear it from you. Is it your wrestling? Were you a good wrestler? Were you a good worker? Were you a good promo guy? Like, what was it?
I like the videos that we made. I think in wrestling, the hype is better than the actual match. And like that's backwards in 2019. I'll give an example. Mayweather versus McGregor. Like that hype, they went on a hype train, went visit a bunch of places and talk shit to each other. And the match sucked, but I'll buy the rematch if they ever want to fight again. It's one of those deals where we made videos. Tarzan was involved with it, whether it was the friendship auditions or the Monopoly or.
You said Tarzan was involved. Why was Tarzan involved?
Well, if you haven't heard, I was a booker.
Oh, okay. All right.
But those things separate, like they would air those during the show. Those are worth more than the match. Like more people see those than go to the actual show.
All right, so I have a bunch of questions on this topic. Now it's really in my head. I got to start one at a time. Number one, if Scotty had asked you, would you have done the Ring of Honor camp?
Yes.
Okay.
Without question, honestly,
Yeah.
would you have paid the money to go?
If that's it, like I wanted the progression for team friendship. So if Ring of Honor is where he wanted to do it, I was willing. Like we drove to Connecticut anyways. I'm 100% would have
And honestly, can you say, do you think one of you was more over than the other, or you were over as a tag team?
We were over together. Like, it's kind of like Ernie and Bert. Like, some people like Ernie, some people like Bert, but when they were together, like, they were more over.
But you're saying at the time, do you honestly think that you did at one point start to overshadow Scotty?
I think initially before he came to me, I was starting to get over by myself, and he was the hot fudge and the whipped cream on the ice cream. Like, you know, I mean, like he solidified the package.
But as your tag team, do you think there was a point that you two, you guys
Like,
are funny?
who's the Marty Jannetty you're asking?
Correct.
No, no, I mean, WWE wise, like big picture, I bet you people would be like Mark Shurman over Scotty Slade. But in Chaotic or wherever we went, we were Luke and Butch, the Bushwhackers.
All right, you brought up the videos, and it's one of the questions that gets brought up a lot with people getting over. This argument would be said. I don't agree with this argument, but a lot of people would say it. They would say, you give anyone those videos, they would have gotten just as over as Team Friendship.
Yeah. So
what would you say to that?
Go do a video. I'm still waiting for the next. I still like Scotty and I still have the best Chaotic videos. You know what I mean?
I
like
do
in
agree
the
with that.
I've quit 4 years ago. I'm still waiting for a video that's better than ours. Tarzan, speak up. There's a microphone right there.
I mean, I don't watch all
Yeah,
of
you
them.
watch
The ones
it.
I've seen.
Julian, you're on the show.
I don't fear sharing my promo. I think most of the promos on Chaotic shows suck. There's no effort put into them.
Well, let's just not isolate Chaotic. Like any of the other New England companies, are they doing vignettes as good as the
Yes,
ones
just New England in general. There's not a lot of people in New England nowadays that are doing any vignettes or promos. Or
I tried for.
anything like that.
That's why I was like, Cam, like, we need to create a gimmick for you.
Club Cam, I think, is a great gimmick. I think he needs to do way more with it, though, because
correct.
I've told him this.
Just like Jimmy Preston, follow what works in New England. Just like when I wrestled, I tried to follow what worked. Like, I tried to like wrestle like Hulk Hogan, like not technical like Bret Hart, but more showmanship like Ultimate Warrior, Goldberg, Hogan, like the millionaires.
But there's a lot of people in New England nowadays that are not doing vignettes and videos and stuff, and
Like,
so.
I was thinking
Honestly,
about that,
think about who right now,
Yeah.
other than Chaotic Wrestling, who is doing any kind of vignettes or videos.
Anthony Green started out hot, but like once he got to Evolve, I haven't seen any new videos.
Do you think
Anything.
he's complacent, or do you think that's a Evolve thing?
I don't know. I mean, you'd have to talk to him, to be honest with you. But I wish he would make more videos retro style. Like one of his last videos I saw on social media, he talked like referee Anthony Green, but dressed up as a retrosexual. I was like, dude, stay in gimmick. Like, what are we doing here? Like, this is what got you to the dance. Like, Mercedes knows that Dusty Rhodes helped her out in NXT and created the boss character with her, and that's what helped her get to the next level. Like, sometimes a gimmick or a character can help you get over.
Do you want to pick that name up real quick?
Yes.
It fell out of your pocket. You dropped it.
So, like, if we randomly pick, say, DL Hurst and who's somebody else in wrestling now, like
Mike
Verna.
Mike Verna.
If we gave DL Hurst and Mike Verna the Team Friendship gimmick, would it get over just as easily as you and Scotty?
What do you think?
I say no, but
He wants your opinion. You're the one.
I honestly, I knew Mike Verna from. I did one after 6 months after I quit the business. Mercedes was like, you want to be an extra? And I did extra TV work with Mike Verna. I was like, oh, Mike Verna, the kid from Chaotic, and I chatted with him. Other than that, I don't know much about Mike.
Well, I mean, I'm just picking like.
Yeah.
Well, the old argument back in the day was you could have given Dean Malenko the Stone Cold gimmick, and he would have got.
Or Terry Taylor, the Mr. Perfect.
Yeah, and they would have got just as over. So I'm just picking those two names at random. Like,
Yeah,
you
probably
think
not.
two other students
No.
could have got that gimmick and got it as
Because like
over.
some people are good at wrestling. Scotty and I were good at entertainment.
So you're thinking that really it's more dependent on the person, because some people I guess this goes back to the original question. Some people are born with it and some people aren't.
Yeah,
And my next question: do you know Sasha Banks?
a little bit. Do you? You and her here get along.
Do you guys
great.
hang out all the time?
Yeah.
Before our
she's
episode-
your favorite. I mean,
Before we started, Mark Shurman made it a point, ladies and gentlemen, to point out where Sasha Banks likes to crash when she's in the New England
that's the
area.
spare bedrooms right there.
Yeah, just to be on the
I think
safe
only
side.
Lorcan slept there too.
I was
so.
just going to say, just be on the safe side. They're not sleeping together.
I think Preston's been in there. Throw ride. A lot of wrestlers.
A lot of wrestlers. Do you have any other names you'd like to drop?
Maybe Flip Gordon. Who knows?
All right. So we're going to take a little break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk a little bit more about Mark Sherman himself and talk.
Can we talk about Mary McCheese a little bit?
anything you'd like?
All day.
But we really want to hammer home
What's Alfonso?
we really want to hammer home what's going to get someone over. Was it wrestling? Is it being a good worker?
Let's get back to the topic.
We're going to talk more about Mark Shurman and a lot more about what we feel it takes to get over in the world of professional wrestling. More when we come back on Truth, Justice, and the New
Still
England
to
Pro
come
Wrestling
on
Way.
Raw.
Are you a wrestling fan, but you've always wanted to get in the ring? Do you want to follow in the footsteps of superstars like Donovan Dijak and Flip Gordon? Then check out the New England Pro Wrestling Academy. At the NEPWA, you can live your wrestling dreams and train at the best pro wrestling school in the Northeast. Check out neprowrestling.com for information on joining and about their upcoming fantasy camp. It's neprowrestling.com. Start your pro wrestling dreams today.
Why wouldn't you just told me the truth?
The truth. That's funny, the truth.
Corey, if we're gonna be married, we have to be able to be totally honest with each other. We should learn from this. From right now, total honesty.
It's a trap. Wait a minute. Are you saying I can tell you the truth about everything? Trap, trappity, trap, trap.
I want you to.
Trap, trap.
And welcome back to Truth, Justice, and the New England Pro Wrestling Way. We're here with the sure thing, Mark Shurman. And this week we're kind of discussing a little bit about Mark Shurman. We're also discussing what it takes to get over in the world of professional wrestling. We've talked a lot about you. Mark, give me your opinion. Julian, and you as well. What do you feel are the things that get people over, whether it be in general or in 2019?
I mean, in 2019, MJF, I don't know any of his matches, but I know he can cut a promo, and he's over with the crowd, and that's a 2019 example. But the secret is connecting with the crowd, bringing the crowd in. That really is the Rock owns that, Stone Cold owns that, Hogan owns that. Just bringing the crowd in, building a connection.
My opinion is shared with Mark Shurman as far as 2019. I just want everyone, for the most part, to really take a second to think about how many guys in the independents right now are over with the wrestling fans to a point. And then think about MJF. MJF is a guy who, if you can't think of a memorable match of his, then I feel like you're with the majority. Why is he signed to AEW? Why is he on TV right now? Why is he now getting pushed to one of the hottest angles for AEW? Is it because he can do 100 backflips or Canadian destroyers or suicide dives repetitively or have every match have 700 false finishes? Or is it because he's entertaining on the mic and can cut a promo and can make you so invested into his character that you need to tune in next day or next show to figure out what's going to happen or what he's going to say? I think in 2019, people are afraid to step out of their comfort zone and stand out like MJF did.
Even like playing a fool. Like, no one wants to play the fool. And I love playing the fool.
Yeah.
The guy gets to come up.
I feel like no one wants to stand out anymore. Everyone wants to
playing.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, it's. I think you're a fool at nature. It just works for professional wrestling.
I just turn on the volume.
But I feel like everyone nowadays is afraid to stand out and be something different. MJF did, and look where he is today. He's on TV at AEW. Most of these guys...
I like the marketable kid, Richard Holiday.
Richard Holiday. I think he's fantastic. And the fact that he gets boring chants and people boo him the moment he walks through a curtain...
As long as you get a reaction...
In fact, that means it's working. What you're supposed to be doing is working. If you come out and people cheer and then they're silent during your match, there's a problem. In 2019, everyone thinks you have to swear, do 100 dives, have every match create a GIF.
I think the best people at it, like a Flip Gordon, should do that.
I agree.
The Young Bucks should do that. But if you're not as good as them, don't do that.
Find a different route.
You're a second tier version of the Young Bucks or a Flip Gordon.
But I think personally, and this is coming from a guy who, if I was 180 pounds now, I think I could get signed somewhere. I had the abilities to do some of the half the shit they do today, but I personally, as a wrestling fan, I loved watching Shurman on the Indies. I liked watching Jimmy Preston. I liked watching guys who were entertaining. Like Mark Shurman said, when Retrosexual Anthony Green first came out, I loved the gimmick. And I agree. I think it's fizzled out some. I know it's not his fault, but I think the gimmick's kind of fizzled down to just a guy wearing retro gear. So, in my opinion, Tarzan, in a long-winded explanation,
like all of your statements,
I believe that it is characters, promos, and everything outside the actual wrestling that gets you really over.
All right,
I mean, even Tommaso, like, he plays a character well. Like he plays like that. Like he's one of the better ones in NXT now. Like he has a character and he sticks to it. Like he's a crazy, like black-hearted. Like he actually is doing a hell of a job. Even on the internet, like he's smart about it.
yeah, but I think he could be more over. But they killed it with that video of him.
Oh yeah, being a baby face.
He's in his hospital bed. He's kissing his daughter, and God bless him. It was really emotional for him. And I just had a daughter, so I can relate to it. But I think that almost took away from
the reality
that he's this crazy guy. That I don't know. Maybe that's me being out of date. Maybe that's just wrestling in 2019.
Yeah, I mean, the internet does, like when you see like Rusev or whoever online like break kayfabe, or like, you know, like even like Braun Strowman's like Instagram is him as like partying like a normal dude. I mean,
It's almost like that, whether WWE or wrestling in general, people want to almost, you know how you can tell a joke, and like even comedians today, if you watch some stand-up comedians, I went to watch Tom Segura and he told a joke once and the crowd got weird and he had to go, guys, it's a joke. Like it's almost like that. It's almost like WWE or wrestling in general has to do something. And then when people are like, yeah, they're like, oh, it's a joke. It's a storyline. See, they still love their families and stuff. They have to almost like cover their ass.
I almost feel like wrestling has become a television show. Like it should say Wyndham Rotundo starring as the Fiend.
Yeah.
Like, it almost feels like they're not even. They're like they're to their
they're
character.
not hiding it. They're not.
Yeah, they're to their character what Jennifer Aniston was to Rachel Green on Friends. Like it's almost become like everybody is cast as a role. They're playing a character, and they're not even like pretending otherwise.
Yeah, it hurts the illusion. It hurts like getting into a storyline or having a genuine connection.
But I'm gonna go back to New England wrestling, and I'm gonna just I already know where this is gonna go. Anyone who is bought into the 2019 era of wrestling is all gonna go, oh, these guys don't know what they're talking about. They're too old school. They're not open minded. I'm good for. There's a lot of great wrestling today. Everyone can have a really good match. AEW proves that. A lot of independents like Limitless and Beyond Wrestling prove that. I've seen some good shit on Chaotic Wrestling. But think about the reactions that people get. Who actually gets a huge reaction when they come out on a Chaotic show if you guys have never been? It's Chase Del Monte because he has a good character. It's Richard Holiday because he has a good character. Everyone else gets a mild reaction.
Well, how's Christian doing?
Christian's the same thing. He gets a great reaction, as does Killanova Inc., and that's because they can cut promos because they're entertaining to watch. That's all it is. They're entertaining to watch. And then you go to the wrestling of, you know, in the past and stuff. You liked watching Hulk Hogan. You liked watching Jake the Snake. You liked watching all these guys cut promos, which is why they got over. And then it's just... It's all character shit that gets over, but everyone's so bought into you have to have a match like you said. Would you refer to 2019 wrestling as
It's
Shurman?
like Circus Soleil. Like you see it once. Like when it's in Vegas, you go see it once a year. Or if it comes to town, like you'll see it. But like seeing it Monday after Monday, it's like I don't need to see it. I saw it 2 weeks ago. Like there's separate, like without the storylines, without the characters, they're just really great athletes doing really cool stuff that you're like, I can't do that. But like other than that, you know, you don't need to see it over and over and over again like you did in '97.
All right, so we're going to play kind of a game here. I'm going to mention attributes that get people over. I'm going to get your opinion on if you think it is a factor at all or not, and try and come up with an example of someone. So I would say look, first of all. How much do you think look would contribute to getting over, and you think anyone now in New England is over because of their look?
You say contribute?
I did say contribute.
I was going to say
I say contribute.
Okay, I say contribute.
I'll
so
give
I
you
was just
this.
curious.
I'll give you
You
this.
say tomato, I say potato.
This is a good point that I thought about. Like Yokozuna could never get through a WWE tryout down at the Performance Center
Today? No.
Bam Bam Bigelow, like doing all these like army drills, yada yada, earthquake. Like there's a lot of big guys that might have been like just cross off the list because they couldn't get through a tryout, or that would have made it in 1990, 1980. Like Could you really see Yokozuna doing lucha rolls and stuff and whatever, wherever the hell they have you in the corner stomping like over and over for a minute?
But would they look at Yokozuna and automatically say,
I hope
this guy's going to get over or this guy couldn't get over?
Show me a Yokozuna in 2019.
I don't know if you can, but
Well, you hear a lot, and especially with a lot of smart marks and a lot of the boys in indie wrestling, they get mad when someone has said they have a great look. Like, that's something to not strive to do. Like,
honestly, like that's how you cut the line. Believe me, like I see a lot of guys in New England that could just literally get signed by WWE if they just bench pressed. You know what I mean?
it's the, like I said before, it's the people buying into the 2019 era of wrestling. So Ace Romero and I have had this talk, but look at Ace Romero. He doesn't have a great body at all, but he's getting signed to TNA. He got signed to TNA.
Different.
But I know, but he got signed to TNA. So people think when they see him, when they see other guys, like I don't know his name honestly. I think it's something Taylor. He's an individual in Ring of Honor right now. Doesn't look good at all. He doesn't look good at all. He doesn't have a body. He doesn't even have really a look. But if you look at guys like him who are getting signed to Ring of Honor and stuff, you buy into 2019's wrestling, you go, nah, you don't have to have a body anymore. You don't have to have a look. Look at these guys. So then when you're telling someone that, they're like, you don't know anything anymore.
I mean, CM Punk started the gateway of looking like, working at Best Buy,
Looking like an indie wrestler.
Yeah, I mean, but he could talk. Like that's like what got him in the door is his mouth,
Which goes back
and he's
to-
a heck of a wrestler, but like he's on FS1 now. I guess he's talking. He's not taking a bump.
And he was the most talked about guy when he left, and he was the most talked about guy that everyone wanted to come back for like the last. How long's he been gone? 5 years.
But what separated him over all the indie guys is his promo.
well, I mean, as far as the look, like Dijak, I think is a fine example. I was always ridiculed for liking guys who had really good looks, but is anybody honestly going to say that? Not just me, that he was getting booked all around Chaotic and Ring of Honor and getting signed. None of that has to do with the way he looks. Am I supposed to believe it's all because Donovan Dijak cuts a great promo or he's a great wrestler?
I see what you're hammering home. So we kind of went off that path.
Well,
yeah, I know what you're saying. So
Saying how much
You can't teach height. You can't teach cool.
no, but what he's saying is it important? No, I agree with Tarzan in that sense. I think that
well, not necessarily important, but can it help you get over?
yes,
still?
absolutely. I mean, especially if you stick out in a world of. You know what I mean? If you put yourself in a room full of midgets, you're going to stick out.
And like in Dijak, would you want to fight a 6'7" guy in the back of a bar? You know what I mean? Like,
No.
It's that's the reality that he gives off. Just by flipping the channel and seeing him.
I know what Tarzan's trying to say. If you put someone in a room, you line a bunch of independent wrestlers up, okay, and you look at people like they're all the same size. You look at JT Dunn, you look at Ricky Archer, you look at Charlie Cashew, you look at Christian Casanova, you look at Mike Verna at the point of the peak of his build. You look at Jimmy Preston, you look at Mark Shurman, and then you look at let's say Mortar. Out of all of those in a lineup, a promoter is probably going to want to pick based on looks. You, Preston, and who else did I say?
Verna, maybe?
Verna. Because based on looks, you guys look like athletes.
I think Christian got in better shape and
Christian, okay, so I've said this before. I love Christian. I think he's great. He's come a long way, and he is in great shape.
Yeah.
But he's it's like you said.
Briggs. I think Briggs has a good look to him.
He does. I think he could put on more muscle.
Yeah.
I think if he
Him and Anthony Green, if they just hit the gym hard.
if they were both ripped, I'll tell you right. If Josh was ripped,
John Cena Riddle ripped.
he'd be on Raw tomorrow.
Yeah. Even Tommaso, he's fit as fuck.
Yeah.
But it also comes to look, not just being muscular. Like, maybe I'm alone, but I could argue that Ivar and Vinny Marseglia wouldn't be where they are if they didn't have a unique look.
That is true.
It did take them time to figure that out, what works for them. They tried new stuff, and honestly, good for them. They figured out how to get separated.
Vinny would be in ROH now if it didn't look the way it did. You think Todd would be successful? Ivar not looking the way.
If he was still a handsome Johnny look, no, he would not. And you're right. Vinny would not be where he's at today.
He's transformed himself.
And I'm not knocking these guys wrestling town. I'm just saying that people underestimate how much a look can contribute to someone getting over.
They got the
Still in
wrestling down.
2019.
They got the wrestling down, and they figured out the other stuff.
Yeah, but I know what you're saying. People do underestimate a look, and you're 100% correct. Is that those looks do heavily play factor into the positions that they have today.
And it's almost like people don't want to admit it. Like it's almost like it's negative to be in shape. Almost. In some small circles.
I think that a lot of times the people who don't or can't get in that kind of shape are the ones who deny it. You know what I mean? Like. It's almost like when...
Honestly, like, if I wasn't in shape, I wouldn't have gotten over.
It's almost like when people say, like, you don't have to do dives. It's typically the people that can't do them or are too afraid to do them.
I can't.
You know what I mean? Like, it's an envious
Well,
thing
you can't do them because you only get
I can't
paid.
do a lot of things.
Only because you get paid $25.
You know, if it was 26, we'd think about it, but 25.
Seriously, though, on that subject, would it really have killed you to have done a dive for $25?
You don't want to see me do a dive.
No, but you're not
Leave
doing
it
an
to
actual
Flip
dive.
Gordon.
You're standing on the top rope, and you could have stepped off like
Flip
Macho
Gordon,
Man.
I'll leave it to Flip.
I get what you're saying. You're not going to be good at it. Well, but to throw
You
the
don't tell
fact
Flip Gordon to play the fool. You don't tell me to do a dive off the top.
I
can do it. Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
I agree, but in this particular situation, the way it worked in the match,
I've never done it. Why start now?
Exactly, and it's
Hulk
one of those
Hogan-
things. You know what I was thinking about the other night? What if The Rock did a moonsault one day? What if he came back? The crowd would go out of their fucking mind. If you did a dive, it's almost like
What if? How come The Rock hasn't?
old dog, new tricks, because he doesn't have to. But
I don't have to.
All right.
Yeah, we're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah,
on
that's-
this subject.
you're
All right,
beat-
let's talk about being able to talk. The ability to be able to talk. How much does that contribute into getting over, do you feel?
In 2019, or I mean,
you can
in general.
give your opinion in general, but we can also tailor it to right now.
if you want the WWE or AEW to scale up, Impact to scale up, you need talkers. You need to talk them into the building, or otherwise you're just going to get that $1 million, $2 million, whatever the hell they're doing now, which isn't that great. Even with the wars and yada yada, if you want to scale up and grow the business, you need to talk them into the stands prior to the match.
What proof do you have that is successful?
Attitude Era,
What about New Age?
Hogan,
The Rock would be.
The Rock, you name them.
Even and I'll
Kevin Nash,
I'm gonna
Scott Hall.
I'm going to repeat myself today in today's wrestling.
What match did Scott Hall and Kevin Nash have? A great 5-star match that they had to create the NWO.
They didn't, but
They talked their way in. They were the outsiders. It was a great storyline.
I'm not talking. I want to relate it to today's wrestling because I telling you right now that the argument people are going to have today is that we're not open-minded to today's wrestling. So you have to use wrestlers today in New England or in general that have gotten to the next level because of their voice. And I'm going to repeat myself based on what I said like 10 minutes ago, but MJF did not have any memorable matches or do these extravagant things on shows that got him to AEW.
Yeah.
His voice did. His
Yeah.
promo did. So I agree with you. I'm more or less trying to prove a point to people is that think about, and this isn't a shot at them. I'm absolutely super happy for them, but if you look at someone like Josh Briggs and Anthony Green, who are working for an affiliate of WWE, which is Evolve Wrestling, who I don't know if any of you guys can tell me. Do you guys remember what the last card was for All Evolve?
Nope.
Do you guys remember who did anything?
Nope.
Okay.
I bet you there was a bunch of dives.
Do you guys know the power of TV? So you guys know what's going on with MJF.
I mean, I have social media. You see some of his stuff.
Yeah, I've watched AEW.
Okay, so if you could see AEW, then you know what's going on. Long story short is MJF, just because he can cut a promo, is on a multinational network that's going to be able to get
He's
him
not
over.
tall.
He's not at all. He's
Was he
actually shorter than
5'10"?
me.
Yeah, 5'10".
I was at a Canuck locker room with him. He's shorter than me.
And honestly, he's good. He's an 8 out of 10.
He can wrestle really
like-
well,
yeah,
but
like-
to get back to what Tarzan said, it was his voice that got him over.
Correct.
And if you think about today, who else has been elevated to an opportunity because they can cut a promo?
Honestly, that's the secret. If I was in wrestling in 2019, like if I was a young kid, I would create a character or figure out my voice, and that's how. If you already can wrestle, if I could wrestle, oh man, the confidence through my fucking like I lacked that ability to wrestle.
I feel like I have a little more knowledge in today's wrestling just because I'm still somewhat active in it. But again, you've brought up Richard Holiday. Richard Holiday can cut a promo, and he can cut a really good promo, and he still gets a reaction. He gets the reaction he's supposed to get.
It
He
makes
gets
your life so
boos.
much easier if you can talk and play a character
Yeah.
gimmick.
And he's on another very popular network, which is MLW. And he's there because I'm sure it's not because he's having these matches that create, gifs and buzzes. It's because he can talk. He stands out from the rest of the group.
I mean, I don't even know why you would sign up for wrestling school if you didn't know how to talk.
Well, I mean, I can tell you why. It's just your dream.
Is it a reflection of today's wrestling? Does that fly anymore with today's wrestling audience? Do they want to see people that talk and whatnot, or has this?
I don't actually. You make a point.
Action.
You make a point.
Taken place of that.
It now works differently than it used to be. Now they memorize a paragraph. They just stay on the train tracks. There's no going off. Like the people who you can tell are going off are Jericho, Ric Flair when he's out there for Crown Jewel. Like I like when they're off the script, like there's bullet points. When you memorize a paragraph, which I've been backstage as an extra, and I've watched Miz pacing back and forth, reading a fucking like paragraph. I like looked over his shoulders.
It's funny you say that. I watched Randy Orton pace back and forth, and he's reciting his promo as he was doing it, and I was just looking at it like, wow, this is so weird. Like he's literally reciting his promo like it's a movie line.
Yep, and like that, I like spontaneous. I like anything can happen kind of thing. But when you stay too on the tracks, it takes away a piece of the pie that enables you to get over.
So just like movies, the thing with movies is like guys are trained for years to deliver these lines and make you suspend belief for it. But as we stated before, wrestling isn't like a movie. You can't recast these characters. They're one and done. And these guys are not more or less trained to be actors. They're trained to be wrestlers. So feeding them lines to read off, you're going to be able to almost read that this isn't genuinely from you, as opposed to someone like Austin and Rock, just, I need you to hit this point about this match, but otherwise tell your story. You know what I mean? You'd be able to read the bullshit.
In 2019, The Rock and Stone Cold could not get over with the barriers that are in place now. Like, it's just like, I'm confident that if Dwayne Johnson was in WWE right now, he'd still be Rocky Maivia. It just...
And you're specifying like if their career started from 2019, not like coming back.
Yeah, they're like, they started in 2016 and this is their third year.
And this is their third year.
Yeah, it's one of those, like, they don't want you to get too over. They want you to come see WWE, the brand. They want you to see WrestleMania, no longer Warrior versus Hogan. They want you to see the whole WrestleMania weekend.
You talked about that earlier. Can you elaborate why you think this?
Because, you know, they saw Hogan leave, Batista, CM Punk. When you create a monster that's bigger than the brand, you lose leverage, you lose control. And they want they're a corporation now. They run it like a corporation. You're just a spoke in the wheel, and they want you as high as a B+. You know what I mean? It's like, it is what it is.
So can you guys think of anyone in New England who is getting over right now because of the way they can talk?
Anthony Green was doing it last year. Like in the last 6 months, I haven't seen any good videos from him. But you know, their social media I would use if I was like up and coming or like one of Fury's students trying to get on shows. Like I would use and leverage social media to get over. Again, more people will see that than actually go the 150 people that come to chaotic shows.
I think that there was a point. And you touched upon it was Anthony Green. There was a point where JT Dunn was cutting some damn good
yeah,
promos.
he had like the strong style videos.
Yeah.
Those were entertaining.
He was cutting some good stuff. The problem with that is it lacked its creativity because he almost delivered the same promo with different words every time. And so it got to a point where you're like...
Same song and dance.
Yeah, same song and dance, just a different tune.
And like production makes you a star. Like Vince McMahon, what he did in the 80s is he paid all of his production people big time. Like that's what separates you too. So like I had Harry on a lot of my stuff. Harry helps out the people now. He makes you look like $1 million. JT Dunn has the strong style people. Like find a buddy who's good with the camera, or you know that does make you look bigger than you really are.
But to answer Tarzan's question, I think the only person as of right now I can honestly think of that's getting over because they can talk would be Richard Holiday.
All right, and then another thing I would bring up, and Shurman, this relates to you. A lot of people would accuse you of this. Do you believe people can be booked to get over? Because a lot of people would say,
"Yeah,
you didn't get over. The way you were booked is why."
Isn't that was it Jerry Lawler that said that? If you put me in the right spot, or every wrestler claims that if you put them in the right spotlight, they can get over or something?
Yeah, you hear that a lot. Like earlier, I said how the Dean Malenko, if he was booked as Stone Cold Steve Austin, he would have been just as over. Jerry Lawler had sent his book. Every wrestler thinks if he's booked properly.
Yes.
Shurman. Some people would argue that nothing you did is what got you over. You were booked to get over. I mean, do you think, especially
big
now and in New England, can a guy be booked just to get over?
I'll use me as
Yes.
an example. Because we came up at the same time. They put me in your spot. Do you think I could have made that work?
No.
So, and then think about anyone else. If
I was what happened was Tarzan came to the school, saw who the hell I was, and he tailored a storyline around my strengths.
and so you're saying he's a good booker.
I mean, I would book. I don't know how you're not a booker in 2019.
Neither do I. So, ladies and gentlemen, opening for booking. If you would like Tarzan Taylor to turn
Would you
your
honestly?
show-
Let me ask you, Tarzan. Would you book if Fury and Chase came up to you and said, "Hey, we need help"?
Honestly, right now, it really would depend. I don't have a lot of time to dedicate that it takes. If somebody wanted me to help them with ideas and what, I might do it. But
Do they ask you at all?
no one's asked me.
Why?
I don't know. I've never asked them, so it's not like I've.
I would like.
It's
just-
not like I've pleaded my case to them, like, "Hey, I want to book for you guys," or
believe
anybody else for that matter.
No, I mean, I would use like you and Fury are good buddies, childhood like friends. Like I don't know why he wouldn't reach out to you. Hey, what do you think here? Like, what can we do here?
I would like to book again for anywhere,
like even a consultant kind of.
but right now, I wouldn't. I don't have the time it would take. It wouldn't be fair to anybody because I wouldn't have the time to dedicate to what it needs. Not one point in my life I might, but right now I don't have.
What about Crockett? Like to see because he has some good ideas too.
I think Crockett would make a good booker. The only problem Crockett had, he was never great. I don't know how to put this. He wasn't always the best at communicating sometimes with the boys.
Yeah, but all
I
you
think he
need-
was a little apprehensive at times.
If you just fed
pot
them,
calling the kettle black or
that's fine. No, I'm not.
you don't need to.
I
be
have the same problem. I'm not knocking him.
Even if you didn't need to be the full booker. If you just fed them ideas, hey, here's 4 or 5 ideas, take 1 or 2 of them, kind of thing.
But I mean, if in their defense, if they're being successful, why would
they? I don't know.
Why would they need me? It's like,
Julian, how is Chaotic? Is it better than it was?
and that goes for any wrestling company. Like, why would Top Rope need me? Why would Sheldon need me? Why would Limitless need me? Like, if they're doing all right now, do they
Are
really?
they?
Do they really need me?
If I had to compare, honestly, my opinion, Chaotic Wrestling is consistent.
That's all you need.
And what I mean is like, this goes back to, like you said, WWE drawing with the brand. I think people are drawn to wrestling. I don't necessarily think people are drawn to Chaotic Wrestling anymore like they used to be, because we saw a fan base grow. The fan base hasn't changed, in my opinion, and to my look. When I see the crowd, the fan base really hasn't changed since like Brian took over, since Brian took over. When it left, it was drawing 150, 200, and they're still drawing 150, 200. I think people are drawn to wrestling because professional wrestling today is drawing.
Yeah, the hardcore. I'll give WWE and Wrestling 2019 this. The hardcore fan, the millions, like the 2 million that watch or whatever, they're really dedicated. They have the network. They're on the internet. They really are passionate. They're the ones who fill up the seats, whether local or big time. They're the real hardcore, like 10% are all in. It's like getting that casual fan, the mainstream guy, the guy who used to like it. That's where they struggle.
Is drawing in new fans is what you're saying.
Yeah, or like the old fans, but the hardcore are diehard. Like they're all over the internet. You see them.
So to get back to what Tarzan had asked, because I know we tend to get off the beaten path, as you like to say, do you think that it's possible or that people can be booked into being successful, or do you think that success has to be built around what you have?
Yeah, I think.
Can you name someone in New England? If you took away the way they were booked, they wouldn't be over anymore.
Who's over in New England?
Julian,
The last person I remember, because you left before him, was Jimmy Preston. Jimmy Preston was over in New
Yeah,
England.
100%.
I would say that professional wrestling is over now in New England.
Correct.
So
there's no one from beyond. You would say is like the over guy.
no one's paying.
I think WWE took who they wanted, and like they're still like.
No one's paying to go see an individual. They're paying to go watch professional wrestling. They know that everyone on the card is a damn good athlete and that everyone's going to deliver match-wise, but they're not paying to see one specific person. You know how you can test that theory? I went to a heavy metal show, and they'd never done this before, but the lady takes my money. She goes, "Who are you here to see?" And I was like, I've never been asked that question, so of course I answered. And she's like, okay, cool. And she's tallying who they're here to see. You should do that at a show one day. Hey, what wrestler are you here to see today? And just start writing down names. And then you tally how many names. And then watch to see how many people who have... give them the choice. You could say this, or you could say undecided. See if any of these people are actually drawing to your show.
I mean, you should listen to the crowd and whoever...
I agree, but, I mean, ask a fan's opinion. Are you here to see someone specific? Or are you here to just...
Who's the biggest heel right now in New England wrestling? Like, you need a good bad guy in order to have a good guy.
I would agree.
I would say...
Who is it?
When you say bad guy...
Dude, you're in it and you can't spit one out.
I would say if you say bad guy, there's no, like, bad guy.
Well, that's the problem.
Because Christian was building to be a good heel, and now his group, the culture has become cool heels. They're now the NWO. So, like, I see some people will boo, but a majority will cheer and have towels and all this other jazz because they have a ton of merch, and they start to look cool now. So now they're like the NWO.
Where they're babyface.
They're booked as heels, but their reactions are like baby faces. And then you have, I would say, the only person that gets consistent boos no matter where I watch him is Richard Holiday at this point.
Good. He's doing his job.
All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about you.
Oh.
When do you think at one point... Well, let me start. Before you started doing anything, having shows, Sure Thing Showdown, anything like that, was there anyone saying you will never get over, you will never be successful, you might as well just quit now?
Yeah.
Every single person that ever came in contact with you?
Yeah, but like there was...
We want names. Give us names. Go ahead.
The whole, like, whoever was at the school, like when I was like, I had to like work VCW, like
All right, I'm gonna throw some names at you. It'll probably be easier for you to just say yes or no. Did Brian? What's that? Yeah, damn right I am. So let's start with the locals. Did Brian Fury say you would never make it or do anything?
At one point.
Okay, Brian Malonis.
He was like the opposite. He was like, dude, he actually was like, you could walk right into WWE if you learn how to wrestle.
Max Bauer.
Yeah, he said you'll never. Yeah, I mean, he was like, you're a mark. You know what I mean? Like
the Logan brothers.
They said I sucked, but you know what I mean? Like this is all before I got on. Are we saying like before I?
No, just match? Yeah, kind of
a little bit before and at the beginning. You know,
yeah. Kind of like when people, because you can kind of see like. I'll give you an example.
I mean, the tides turned 100% after like my fourth or fiveth match,
but
was
Chaotic your first match?
No.
Where was your actual first match?
Actually, my first match was at the Spinner Show versus Ivar, Handsome Johnny.
Okay, so who was like the booking committee or the bookers at that point?
Who was before you?
Before me, I believe Kevbo and Jamie.
I think it was Kevbo, Jamie, a little bit of.
So I was not there.
Yeah, like they just wouldn't put like. I think they wanted to put me on the show, but they listened to the crowd. Not Shurman.
Okay, well, when I came aboard, Crockett, myself, Kevbo, Jamie, Adult, we were the ones that were kind of.
Let me ask you: when you became
running the show
booker, that's when I started to get on shows. How hard was it for me Can I use Shurman? Like, how hard was that?
Getting you on the shows wasn't that hard.
All right.
I think it was more harder when I was trying to pitch like the Sure Thing Showdown and your whole persona, your whole gimmick that eventually led you getting over.
Yeah.
And I think it was because at that point you were unproven and you were, let's be honest, really annoying.
Yeah.
And I can't blame anyone. They didn't have a lot of faith because what that gimmick needed is for you to be able to do things non-wrestling to get you over, and I don't think too many people had a lot of faith that you could do it. Definitely not a lot of the boys. I don't know. I can't think of any that said that that's a good idea. So, but I'm just saying, did myself, Kevbo, Crockett, Adult, Jamie, did any of us say to you, you might as well quit, you're never going to...
Not you guys.
So you're saying like wrestlers around you kind of did it, but not the bookers or anyone who...
It was more like, you'll never get on shows if you don't learn how to yada yada. You know, or like... Dude, you're quit now, man. Like you'll never figure it out.
Because I mean, there's been students when I was a booker. I've said stuff like, I think you'll make it onto a show. Whether or not you're going to be successful or do a lot is another thing. But I think you'll be making it on a show. There's a difference between that and saying that you'll never amount to anything and never get over. I don't think I ever said to anyone flat out, "You're never going to get over." Certainly, there's a lot of people that I could say that I would think that. But.
I'm going to use one of my students as an example. His name is Kason. He is a very quiet but entertaining person in life. He's not an extrovert like you, but he is extra. And he's pretty damn good in the ring. He's not great, but he's passable. And Brian and I talk about it all the time. Is he could be good if he just lets himself be. If he loosens up and tries to get out there, he could be really good. Why do you feel
if you're vulnerable, you're open to being the fool, or you have to take that risk?
But he'd be if he can better his. I guess he has good like natural character in the ring if he lets it flow. I don't know how his promos are, but why do you feel like someone like Brian, who trained both you now, Kason, and you, why do you feel Brian would almost look at Kason, who has just other than I think you both kind of could have the same entertainment value. It's just he has better ring value. But why do you think Brian would give him props and say that he could potentially do it, and then look at you and go, "This isn't never going to happen"?
I mean, I probably had a ceiling for my wrestling ability. Like you guys were saying off air that I had a good I've had good matches as time went on, and I became above passable. But
so you think it's your wrestling that they all judged you on, not so much your character?
Yeah.
So, but I guess I don't understand, because there was a lot of guys in the '80s that couldn't fucking have a 5-star match.
I think Fury saw the way wrestling was headed. Like more honestly, if you stayed in shape, you probably could have got signed. You could do it all in the ring and couldn't cut that well of a promo.
I think I got better towards the end.
Yeah, you did.
I stopped caring about what people think.
You literally probably could have made it like in 2019. Like this would have been right up your alley, as opposed to me, which I'm more back in time, the 90s.
Do you
80s.
think you would have your act would have gotten stale coming this year?
I actually would have stuck out if I had the right booking and people nurtured me. I needed. You can't do it alone. I had Harry. I had Tarzan. Even Albertson helped me with the T-shirts. Like it's
Scotty.
Yeah, Scotty. Like, but Scotty joined like once I was on a roll, kind of thing. Like
so sounds like to me what you're saying is like, and this, I'm not comparing you to Hulk, but Hulk Hogan. You're saying because Hulk Hogan couldn't go out there and have the type of match Shawn Michaels could. You're saying that if they had booked you around your strengths consistently, you think you would have still been able to be relevant and over to today?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I got a good heel run after my babyface run, because I think I would have been a better heel. Even like no bookers after I turned babyface in New England would book me heel ever again. I begged people like, give me a goddamn chance. I can be a nice asshole. I can be a Jerry Lawler.
Why do you feel that is?
Because the crowd cheered me.
No, I mean, like, why do you feel like no one ever tried to move you as a heel? Because I think this is one thing you can credit Caddick on, is if Caddick ever did something, everyone followed suit. So,
yes,
you know what I mean? When Team Friendship debuted here, everyone wanted Team Friendship.
Yep.
When someone turns heel here and they pull it off well, they want you heel everywhere else. So why do you feel like no one... Do you think it's because Caddick wouldn't do it first, or you just think no one had faith?
I mean, at the time, I think Chase just turned heel and the Hooligans just started. And, like, they didn't need me to turn heel. And I was like...
They didn't need or want?
I couldn't tell you. But that was the end of my chaotic run. Like, I was like, let me just turn on Scotty. Let me... If Scotty wants to break up with me, like... Let one of us
turn it into a storyline tag angle.
Yeah. Like if you're gonna keep both of us babyface and separate us, like for no reason, like it's gotta. I don't know. I honestly, towards the end, like I was 31, and I did everything I wanted to do locally, and like all I was looking for was a WWE tryout at that point, and then I've started to watch a show, and I was like, these guys are really athletic. I can't do what they do, and it's going a different direction than that wouldn't tailor to my strengths, and I don't want to deal with the local bullshit. So I found a great woman and got a better job and all the above, and yeah, I'm grateful for the past, but yeah.
I mean, there was no arguing. There was a time where you and Scotty were over, like everywhere in New England.
Honestly, it was fun. It was awesome.
You do see, though, that you owe a lot of that to the boys. Like any one of them could have sabotaged your Sure Thing Showdown and could have killed that at any
a couple
point.
tried.
Was it intentionally or unintentionally?
I don't know, but honestly, like people would be stupid. I mean, if you like, I think all the boys are wrestling fans first. So if they see something's working, you'd be stupid to ruin something like that.
But I'm just gonna so I am very skeptical of the professional wrestling business. Would they be stupid though? Would they be stupid to ruin your push? I mean, yeah, I can make you look good, but in the long run, that's only going to make you better and move you higher up in the food chain. While
my first go around, it'd be stupid. But like once I won the championship a couple of times, and towards the end, like now is the time. If they were going to do it, that would be the time to do it because he's probably not. Odds are he's probably not going to make it. We got him. You know what I mean? So like that's the time to do it when they don't think like I could have like my trajectory was potentially WWE like during the early on of my wrestling career, like while I was getting over. And then once I got over and it started to get a little stale and Scotty wanted to break up with me, the time to ruin it or jump on or dictate my future would be there, you know.
Describe the general attitude when you guys got over, like from the boys and management and whatnot.
It was actually pretty positive. Like it like changed everyone's tone towards me. All the people who said I wouldn't get on shows or, you know, who were kind of standoffish with me
had lack of respect.
Yeah. Now they're like, I had beers with them after the show and got them to open up. And
do you feel like you earned respect, or do you feel like it's the standard? Let me jump on that. Like,
I think I made it in the club, so to speak.
Okay.
Because other locker rooms the same, or
other locker rooms are so much like they treat me like other locker rooms because I was like Mark Shurman from Chaotic. I got treated like royalty.
I never, and again, this goes back to me being skeptical. Tarzan and I talk about it with promoters all the time. Is when promoter starts a new show, suddenly they start to accumulate a bunch of friends. Was it? And I get skeptical that people are more or less respecting you. Is it more of it's, well, let me jump on the train now because if Shurman gets signed, I can say, yeah, Mark Shurman's my best friend. He got me tickets to Raw. You know what I mean? Like, was it? Do you feel like it's that, or do you feel like it's just like you said, you kind of earned your spot because people are like, oh, this kid's legit now?
I think again, the boys are wrestling fans too, and they must have liked my entertainment value. They saw the value I could bring to the table.
And you don't feel anyone resented you that you were getting over and getting such a good push, even though you weren't really very good in the ring?
I bet they're like, I have to do 10 flips, and this idiot is going out with a list and getting the crowd rocking and rolling. Like no one's gonna say it to my face, but maybe you guys can answer that question behind the scenes. I didn't witness it head on.
No one ever. I had no reason to not be honest. I've never heard anyone say like what the reason is, but I'm glad Tarzan brought this up because I actually have a question regarding that. No one has ever actually said why they, would ever feel the way they feel for you, but you, I'm sure, have experienced this. Why do you feel people in general who had to deal with you or were around during your wrestling career have trouble giving you the respect that I do genuinely personally feel you deserve? Because yes, you had two left feet in the ring, but you were actually drawing fans and money. So why do you feel people neglect or are hesitant to give you that respect?
I mean, to be honest with you, everyone one-on-one with me is very chill. It's when they're in a group, they all act tough. You know what I mean? Like so if I pull someone aside that you might think hates me, if you want to name names, I don't know who.
I don't know anyone that actually hates you.
But like if I pull someone aside, like we have a real conversation. We're very friendly. I actually don't think that many people hate me at all. I think there's some people locally that are still doing it that, I feel like I'm like the Chris Benoit of chaotic wrestling at this point. Like, not mentioned. Like I've never was like, you know what I mean? But or CM Punk or
But
I'm like,
why?
Like, I don't. I don't know.
I'm gonna share my opinion.
I don't even know what that means.
I mean, like
he's saying that he's hated and no one wants to talk about him.
Yeah, or not hated, but like the history. Like I would love to do chaotic classics for their YouTube channel. Or
the story for you is you were a guy that bought too heavily into his own hype, and you were hard to work with at one point because you understood your entertainment value, but you took it to Hogan, CM Punk, Stone Cold Ash. This is like, you were like, no, I'm God's gift to earth. You need to know how to book me. So I'm not doing what you said, or I'm not doing that, or whatever.
Is that true, Tarzan?
Well, I will say that I can't speak for anyone else.
Yeah.
As time progressed, I found you very difficult to deal with, mostly because you can't turn it off. And
Like backstage, like I stayed in character.
like I've got a lot of things going, a lot of stress booking a show. I've got multiple egos to deal with, plus my home life at the time not good. You really can't turn it off, and it really, really got on my nerves. I've heard that you started to think you were more important than you were.
Like you were bigger than
The dive's a
wrestling.
fine example of you were like adamant about not doing a dive because you weren't getting paid enough. And to me, it's like, well, we're in indie wrestling. None of us are getting paid all that much. Either you want to do it or you don't. And
I mean, there was people on the show getting paid more than me, and I was the champion.
yeah, that's true.
I mean, this is a business. Not a
So you
friendship.
would have done the dive for more money, is what you're saying.
Sure. If I break my neck, are you guys paying my hospital bills or what?
I know what you're saying.
You could break your neck on a suplex, a body slam.
I hear you.
know?
It's not my forte. It's not up my alley. Like it's. I get your point of view, and looking back in retrospect, yeah, I was more picky and a little snobby about how I wanted to be.
You got to a point where I think you and I say this a lot, is like
It's more like protect your character,
I mean,
whatever that means.
You say you're getting paid less. I mean, do you think you deserve more money?
I mean, I deserved more. Like whatever the highest guy got paid when I was champion, I should have got paid that same amount.
I agree with. Okay, so and this is gonna go back to the same fucking rant I do all the time.
Even though I made up for it in t-shirts.
But yeah, and like I said, you're justifying. All right, so if you charge, let's just say right now, I'm pretty sure Chaotic charges like $20 front row seat.
Sure.
Okay, if you draw 5 people in there,
Yeah.
that's $100 in your pocket. Pay you $100. You just drew at least 5 people. You used to draw way more than 5. There were people in here that would literally say, like, I'm here for Shurman. I'm here for I'm the Shurmaniacs.
Yeah.
Like, there were people that were catered to you.
Yeah.
Justifies your pay to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I agree that you should have been paid more because your drawing ability did pay.
Just whatever the highest guy.
Well,
was
let's
getting
step
paid.
out of the chaotic bubble. NEW, top rope,
They paid-
CTW. Were you getting paid what you thought you deserved?
NEW paid me $100 a match.
Okay.
So you feel is that one place that wasn't paying you what you deserved?
I mean, my home base where I was like the most over.
Yeah. Well, so were most places paying you 100?
Whatever I asked, they gave me.
Okay. So I can see what you're saying, but to go back to what we were saying, I think the biggest issue that you had was I think you believed, and I say this all the time, is I think you would have been fine, but I thought that you were almost not open to working as much as you were open to being catered to. So
Yeah.
your head was so far up your ass about how good you were
At
that
what? Or at wrestling?
at,
or?
no, at entertaining and drawing that you didn't. There was no compromise for you. Like you got so Hulk Hogan, CM Punk, Stone Coldish, which was like it's my way or the highway. And
I mean, I think
made
if
you
you're painting
difficult
a
to work
black or white picture, I think it was a shade of gray.
I'm telling you what I've heard.
Yeah,
Everyone
yeah.
said you got difficult to work with because of that reason.
I mean, I'd love to hear it from them. You know,
Wrestling, it's not
Yeah.
going to happen.
I know, but
Everyone
I
talks
can
through the
see
grapevine.
a shade of gray of that. It's not that black or white,
Mm-hmm.
but I understand there were times where I said no, and like honestly, Biff tells me he says I'm not taking that, and then like backstage he told me like someone's like I want to do this, that, the other thing. He's like I'm not taking that, and they're like why? And then he goes up and the secret is he goes I walk up to them, whisper in their ear, you don't want to know, like just and they laugh. You know what I mean? Like some things like. Again, I have to go to work on Monday. You know, like if we're not paying the bills over here, like
It also depends on how you approach it. If you had just said like, I want you to do a dive. No, I'm not doing a dive.
Yep.
Why? Because I honestly don't think I could do it safely. I'd respect that. But when you come back at me and you say, I don't do dives for $25, you immediately paint a picture that you think you're bigger than like wrestling itself,
Yeah.
and immediately creates a douchebaggery image of yourself.
I know, but everyone goes back to that one example.
It is,
Yeah.
but I'm giving you an example
Yeah.
because it's little things like that could make people immediately go.
I regret how I said it.
Yeah.
and like it's like the biggest joke that me and Malonis laugh about.
You know,
and I said it absolutely wrong.
So, like you'd say, Joey Bricko never said you're difficult to work with. Sheldon
Nope.
Goldberg never said you're difficult to work
Sheldon
with.
Goldberg at the end when me and Scotty and I took another booking over his. Yes, he was mad at us and never booked us again.
Mike O'Brien never said.
No, he actually asked me to come down November 30th to his show, but
It's funny you say that. I'm pretty sure that actually Sheldon Goldberg on his episode had said that he would never want to deal with a Mark Shurman ever again because never actually elaborated.
Didn't really
why.
elaborate.
But he did say that he would never want to deal with you ever again, and that
at the end,
I might be-
ask him. I mean, if he ever comes back on here, like we had a great relationship up until we took another booking over his, and like Scotty did the talking on that one. You can ask Scotty, and Goldberg took it out on me, maybe because we're both Jewish or whatever the fuck. Like I have no idea, but like he took it personal with
Is
me.
that a thing? Or-
I don't know. Maybe in his head.
Jews stick together, guys.
I mean, his maybe I don't know what happened, but we had a great relationship up until we took another booking over his.
that could be an old. Now, did you already have previously that booking scheduled, and then you pull out of it?
They had a bunch of dates, NEW, and they canceled a bunch on us. Like they booked us for this, that, the other, like 3 dates in a row, and they stopped. They're like, we can't run. We're not running that date. And then they threw in like a makeup date that I was already booked for, and it was on the same date as NEW. And that actually, coincidentally, they actually named the show at NEW after me. It was called The Sure Thing in Bethany, Connecticut, and I was like, hey, I already have a booking that date. And they're like, but you're our tag team champions at NECW. And I'll tell you this. I had Scotty talk to them for us. I don't know what he said. But after that, like literally Goldberg was not happy. Like didn't want to talk to, like he like cut me a promo on Facebook Messenger.
It wouldn't have mattered what Scotty said.
Yeah, exactly.
The way it works, especially in Sheldon's era, is like if I put a title on you, you're committed to my shows. Period. Done.
But he canceled, then placed a makeup show on a date I was booked at.
Yeah, which is it's understandable in the sense of being an independent wrestler and a businessman for yourself. You're in the right. I mean, you already had a previously show booked. You're not gonna back out of the show just because you're his champion. That's on Sheldon. But in Sheldon's era, you got to understand.
I understand why he was pissed off 100%. Right. But like he had a makeup show and he placed it after I was already booked.
So Scotty ever said the words, "You're difficult to deal with"?
I mean, he's difficult. I mean, we're both difficult to deal with. We're all difficult. Like I'm guilty as charged, but we all are. Top to bottom, everyone in that chaotic locker room is guilty as charged too.
How about Jamie?
Yeah, I mean, Jamie. I mean, you worked with him. You're no longer the booker. What happened there? Why aren't you booker anymore? Like, did you get something with him?
Well, it's funny you were going to mention that. I was going to bring that up because I know people were going to call me out if I didn't bring it up.
Yeah,
you're the reason I left Chaotic. You know that.
I thought that was a rumor.
No, this is exactly what happened. I was really stressed out. My home life was bad for a while. Wrestling was very, very difficult to deal with. I had gotten to the burnout point. I'm trying to get stuff done. It's difficult to get things done because we're trying to get a breakdown a ring and whatnot. And I told people specifically to stay out of this room because
trying to cut a promo.
We're trying to get promos done. And Mark Shurman twice deliberately sent people in the room because it would be hilarious to piss Tarzan off because it's so funny to get Tarzan mad.
Yeah. I mean,
so finally,
I don't know if that's the truth. Whoever told you that,
because you're the one who stormed into the room right after.
I did, but I didn't deliberately. I think you're adding.
Well, I told you after the first time not to let anyone in the room, and you deliberately let Kevin Quinn walk right in the room.
I didn't say Kevin walk in that room.
You did nothing.
I didn't stop. I wasn't like.
It's the whole accountability thing.
Yeah.
It's the accountability thing.
So I lost it the second time, and I finally said, and this is going to sound like you. I said, I'm getting paid $50. Fuck this shit. I'm no one.
See, there we go.
It's
not worth it to die.
And 25. I left. I just walked out and never looked back.
Yeah.
Now,
honestly, like I didn't realize that was like I know that incident was the last time you booked, but I didn't know that I was the reason.
Well, to be fair to you, you were the catalyst.
I was the straw that broke the camel's back.
Exactly. Yeah, I was pretty pissed off, and you really didn't help matters.
That's what it was.
So,
all right. So I'm going to go ahead and give you a couple fan questions because we're running a little long here, and we still have to hit you with the Fantastic Four.
We've talked a lot about getting over and whatnot, and I feel we've only scratched the surface. We could probably debate the topic for every episode. Could probably debate with different people what it takes to get over and whatnot.
Before we end the episode, we'll just get a clear-cut, like very understandable opinion on each other, or what of each other's opinions of like what you think will get over. Like, do you think it's this, or this? That way, it's almost like they know what we're thinking. We don't want to leave a vague opening.
All right. Well, for me, it's very hard to put into words because sometimes getting over is a product of the time. Like The Rock and Austin, I think were products of the time because nobody had seen anybody in wrestling act like that. No one had made Vince McMahon piss himself or called Kane a big red retard and things like you couldn't even do now. Like, so it's hard to say. I do think, you have to look larger than life. You have to look like a star. I still firmly believe that no matter how much wrestling has changed. Read a good book. I think looking larger than life, being larger than life, not being like the guy sitting next to you is a factor. I do think charisma and talking is a big factor as well. I think wrestling is a factor, but I think wrestling, being a good wrestler on its own, I don't think it's exceptionally rare got anybody over. Like
maybe Bret Hart,
Ricky Steamboat, Shawn Michaels, Chris Benoit. But for every one of those guys, I could name you 10 guys I got over because they could talk great or they looked cool or they were cool or they looked like something you'd never seen before. That's my opinion. Maybe it's changed. Maybe it's different. It's just one man's opinion. You out there, you can go to our social media and you can tell us what you think. But Mark Shurman, let's hear what you think first.
Yeah, I think it's all like there's so many pieces of the pie that makes you get over. A piece can be in-ring ability, like a Benoit. That's what got him over. Looking the part like Goldberg, Ultimate Warrior is another part. Having charisma is another part. And talking like CM Punk, Piper, Ric Flair, it's another part. So, but I think you need to have a little bit of everything or be really good at one thing. But everyone can't be just a good wrestler or, if you want to stand out in 2019, you have to zag while everyone's zigging. And today, I think, especially in the indies where you have more creative freedom, take chances. Now is the time while you're on the indies to take chances before you get gobbled up by WWE and memorizing a paragraph.
Yeah. I'll try to keep this not long-winded, Tarzan. My opinion is simply, I really do believe there's different levels of getting over.
What happened to your tooth?
I got knocked out by Chase Del Monte when I took a super kick. It was previously broken. It wasn't all his fault. But so I believe that characters and gimmicks realistically get you over. I believe there's a level of over, and I'll use Daniel Bryan as an example. He got over for being a good wrestler, but he didn't get really over until a storyline was booked around the situation. He was really over.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Well, not even that. It's just he was really over. He was the independent guy that wasn't getting a push. They listened to the crowd. They said, let's book an angle around it. So that got him to the next level of being over. But then, you look at people like CM Punk. You look at people like MJF today. They're all getting over because they can cut a really good promo. But I want you to really take a second to think about the people who are great wrestlers. Ricochet, very entertaining to watch in the ring. Pac, very entertaining to watch in the ring. 90% of the guys on AEW, really entertaining to watch in the ring. They all put on great matches, but are they like over? You know what I mean? I'll give you another example. I went to work the other day and I asked one of the females at my job who know nothing about wrestling. I said, do you know who The Rock is? She said, yep. I said, do you know who Stone Cold is? She said, yeah. I said, do you know who Triple H is? She said, yes. I said, do you know who CM Punk is? She said, yes. I said, do you know John Cena? She said, yes. I said, cool. I said, do you know who the Young Bucks are? She said, nope. I said, do you know who Seth Rollins is? She's like, nope. I said, Kenny Omega? Nope. Kevin Owens? Nope. That right there means that you can even get someone who is not a wrestling fan, didn't watch it, they still know who you are. To me, that's going to make you over because if that random person who doesn't watch wrestling actually tunes in, they'll probably want to see the outcome of whatever it is they're watching.
Yeah, I mean, you can have like the hardcore fans over, like there's certain types of or tiers of overness.
Yes.
But if you want mainstream, like walking down the street, hey, do you know Jake the Snake, Hacksaw Jim Duggan's? They know them. But if you you want in 2019 to take those you want more than the hardcore fan to like wrestling, or you're going to be stuck at the 2 million. They already have the hardcore fan. They have to try something new in order to get to scale up their companies.
And I'm going to back you up and say that I really do think that people need to take more chances and stop trying to play along with the group and try to stand out.
My last real thought, the only time I ever heard it phrased where I thought made sense, Brian Pillman said, to get over, you got to do something that nobody has ever done in wrestling before. That's the only time I've ever heard anyone put it in words that I actually thought was about as close as you could get to.
And I don't remember any of Brian Pillman's matches, like maybe Jushin Thunder Liger, but his was all his promos, acting like a crazy guy.
Yeah.
And the gun angle with the
Just everything. It's just that's what got him over. It was character.
Yeah. So
And
angles help.
You would
character.
argue it's very difficult to do something no one's ever done in
Correct.
2019.
You need to book, and to play off what we've always been saying is I don't think you can book someone into an angle. I think you have to book around their strengths, as you stated before. Like Daniel Bryan was a good wrestler. Crowd wanted him to get over. They booked the angle around that. They didn't book him into success. They booked They booked around the situation, just like they booked around your aptitude to be a good character and not so much a good wrestler.
And like Kofi Kingston, he took a chance with that New Day thing. He was starting to fizzle out, being the Jamaican guy and yada yada. And like they had this like black group they started. It was supposed to be like the Nation of Domination, and then they said, "No, screw it, we're going to try it our way." And then they started being goofballs, and it panned out. They took a chance.
We want to hear.
No, I'm sorry that I was the reason that you stopped booking, man.
It's all right.
Dude, I was unaware. Like I knew I pissed you off that day. Dude, but I didn't know I was the one sole reason.
You're
man.
the straw that broke the camel's back.
This is just three men's opinion. We want to hear from you, the listeners. Come to our Facebook page. Come to our Twitter.
I want to know if Mayor tweeted at you.
Actually, it's funny you say that. Susanna, my girlfriend, love of my life, did say that Mayor McCheese tweeted at me and then he deleted it.
Well, Mayor, what did you think of the episode, man?
We definitely want to hear. Come to our Facebook. Go to our Twitter. We want to hear.
Delfonso, do some tweets. Start dialing it up.
We want to hear what you think. What it takes to get over in New England, 2019, or wrestling in general. We definitely want to hear your opinion. We're all about debate and discussion here on the Truth, Justice, and the New England Pro Wrestling Way. And on that note of asking what our listeners think, we've got some listener questions for the sure thing, Mark Shurman.
Yay.
All right, some of these questions are a little out there. Try to give me a quick answer because we're running a little long. We still have to hit you with the Fantastic Four, and some of these questions are a little silly. So I'm just going to ask you from the top to the bottom. First question is from Joe Moakley. How many pencils do you own?
A lot of pens. I have a lot of pen and pads.
Okay, a lot of pen and pads. Thank you, Joe Moakley. I'm going to save Amato Figueroa. Everyone knows Amato. And Scott Dupree. Also known as Maverick Wild and
Here we go.
Sethrin.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep that question for last. Next question. I'm going to save that one too, David Rodriguez, because that's part of our Fantastic Four. So the other question
Here we
is
go.
from Stephen Page. What do you know about Ray Finkel? All right, we're moving on.
Ace Ventura.
We have another. It was actually a coworker of ours.
All right.
Or a former coworker. Malcolm Salz.
No kidding.
Yeah. He asked, "Who are you?"
I don't think he knows who you are.
Not many people do anymore.
All right. David Taylor asked, "Do you know who I am?"
Which David Taylor? Is it the kid? Is it the Jackass kid?
No, he's from the Squire, right? From WCW.
I don't know. No, it was the kid. No, it was the kid.
The Jackass kid.
I heard what you're saying. Yeah, it's the Jackass kid.
Good kid.
All right. So these questions are not where I thought they were going to go. One question is from Jonathan Morse. He asked, did you choose to dress up as the hot dog?
Yes, there was a bunch of Halloween costumes backstage. And
You guys were not assigned. You were told to.
We were we saw Ted saw the hamburger. I saw the hot dog. And we're like, let's do it up.
All right. One of the other questions I got from, it's not really a question, it's a demand. Anthony Brogna, also known as Royce Bishop, wants to ask you or tell you he wants all of your WWE extra stories.
Oh, man. Which
Give us one good one, just your best one.
I mean, there's a lot of good times, whether it's like sitting in catering and eating like with like all the like I have no fear. So I sat next to like Christian and
yeah, but what's your juiciest story? Is there any drama, any issues that went on?
I walked up to Stephanie McMahon once and I was like, "It's my first time," and she started laughing her ass off.
If anyone knows Mark Shurman, that is brilliant.
And I panicked in Gorilla like right before we went out with Taven, and Taven had to like hold me up against the wall and tell me to chill out.
You're one of a kind, sir. And my last question that the fans have asked, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for chiming in. If you guys could have more questions, I'll try to put more up asking you before we have our interviews. That way I can involve you as well as, you can helping us be a little more inquisitive as to our guests and what you'd like to hear. So Maverick Wild and Sethrin both have a question for you, which is, why are you still not wrestling, or why have you left wrestling?
It takes a lot of hard work and dedication to, like, I don't want to half-ass it. Like, if I were to ever wrestle again, which I'm 99% sure I won't, it takes a lot of going to the gym every day and being dedicated, shaving your thighs and body, tanning,
Traveling.
I have a really good job right now. I have a really good wife, and I don't want to half-ass it.
You want to go all in.
I want to look like a star. I want to, and I want to,
you want to put the work in.
Yeah, like if I were to do it, I would have to, go 100%. I can't go 50%.
You would have to start denying your full-time job sometime with your wife.
I would have to rearrange my time management, and that's the truth. I mean, if never say never. I mean, I would love to have one last match with Scotty Slade, tag it up for old time's sake. That'd be kind of cool if they gave me like a 3-month window to prep for it.
Do you feel like, aside from your goal to get to WWE, do you feel like you got the most of what you could have?
Yeah.
Are you happy with it?
Yeah, I had a lot of fun. Like, we talked about a lot of negative stuff today, but I'm very grateful for all the boys and Jamie and Adult and Mike and even Joe Moakley at APW, and even Sheldon, like, giving me a chance and the platform to live out my local dream. Yes, I didn't make WWE, but got to wrestle a lot of my childhood heroes, riding cars with Bret Hart. I got to sell T-shirts and make little kids happy, and
got to go to weddings with other people in them.
Yeah,
other wrestlers that you grew up watching.
I got to. Honestly, the best part is in 2019 for me is seeing a Tommaso, a Dijak, a Mercedes, a Biff on TV.
Same here.
Eddie Edwards, like Taven, Flip, like it's a handsome. Like
it's awesome.
I put a mini smile on my face.
It really does.
Knowing that, like, I was there. Like, I know who they are, and I watched the journey. I have no regrets signing up for wrestling school, and I do love it. Like, never. That's why I say 99%. I'll never take a bump again.
Yeah.
But I'm so, like, the reason I still watch, because I don't think the show's that great, is to watch them, like, live out my dreams. To be honest with you.
Real quick question. I was told, and I heard the secondhand, so I don't know if it's true, that you were an extra on TV and you told them that you were more about entertainment and funny, and they told you to cut a promo and make them laugh, and you couldn't do it.
No,
that
I
was
said
amazing.
this. Didn't I go? Well, you were there.
I was there. That was Matt Stryker. No, you did not.
No.
So,
I did that the next time. It was Matt Stryker.
Yes, it was Matt Stryker. It was a ton of us. There was the time that we had we went to TV for an extra, and there was a lot of us. And so Matt Stryker's basically giving us a pep talk in the
Honestly,
pep talk
Dreamer prepped him up. They're boys
in the stands.
They go, which one of you is Mark Shurman? I was like, here we go.
And so he did. He definitely got prepped with something, because he did actually look at Shurman and say, "I heard you're the funny guy. Make me laugh."
That's really what it was.
And he couldn't. Shurman just gave him his blank stare, like. And I think he did his, like, he goes, 2 guys walk into a bar, and
no, honestly, I'll tell you the truth.
Stop talking.
I'm such a huge fanatic of WWE, WWF. I respected it so much that when I actually got to like TV, I was so nervous every goddamn time. I fumbled the job interview every fucking time, and that's probably my biggest regrets in wrestling. I mean, I'll tell you this. You can ask anyone who went to TV with me, whether it was Julian, Taven, anyone. I was so fucking nervous every time I was there. I was just rattled at my, like, so any, like, back in the day, like, being an extra kind of was a job interview prior to the PC. And, like, I went there with Mercedes, I went there with Julian. Fury was there a couple times, Ilya. I went with Biff and DC Dillinger, and a was just rattled every goddamn time I was there. Even like in the ring on Tuesday when we had our matches, I just shook. Like wrestling in an empty arena with like Regal and like the boys like leaning against the barriers watching you. It's my lack of wrestling ability and my confidence and being rattled, just goddamn, that's one thing I was mad at.
It's going to TV is a whole new sense of nerves. It's you feel like you're expected to perform at your very best. I could tell you, Scotty Slade and I had a tryout, well, not a tryout match, but I guess like a match at TV, and we fucked each other up. Like we threw as hard as we could. Our intensity was so high. It's literally because you're, like you said, you're in front of the boys and you want to be the best. And so, excuse me. And so you just want to be the best at everything. And then at the same time, it's like you want to be noticed, but you got to be out of the way because it's a fast-paced show. And I know that I'm going to open everyone's eyes. When you go to TV, it is not what you think it is. It is not smooth sailing. They are no different than an independent wrestling company. They're just at a bigger scale. They are flying by the seat of their pants, making changes last minute, running around, trying to get extras because they had an idea, then they nixed the idea, then they got the idea, then they nixed the idea, then they got the idea. And so it's consistent change on the fly. And so everyone's running around and basically everyone's like, get the out of my way. So it can be a nerve-wracking situation. I can understand where you come from.
And in life, like, I think everything was meant to be the way it is. I mean, I'm very grateful that even when I didn't make it, I got an awesome job and awesome wife, and I'm living a good life right now that I'm very happy with. So everything happens for a reason.
All right. And on that note, Julian, you know where we're going?
Oh, I do.
It's time for the Fantastic Four.
Fantastic Four!
Mark Shurman, it has been a pleasure having you on, sir. But now now we're going to hit you with the same four
I
questions.
guess we're not as truthful as we said we were.
You know what happened to the hard-hitting questions?
We're going to go ahead and hit you with the same four questions that we hit all of our guests with. So the first question we're going to open up with is, with your entire dealings with professional wrestling, what would you say you were most proud of?
I'm proud that I got the crowd wild. I mean, and like, I got the fans to give a damn about me.
All right. Question 2. What is, if any...
just to reiterate, sorry, I wanted to touch upon... No, Tarzan, you're okay. It's actually to play with your question. I do want to say that I did hold this question back because it's part of the Fantastic Four. Picture Dave Rodriguez, had the same exact question you're about to ask.
All right. What is, if any, your biggest regret in your dealing with professional wrestling?
I wish I signed up earlier for wrestling school, knowing that how far I got signing up after 25. I would have done that. That's probably my biggest regret. And with that coincides with having more wrestling years under my belt by the time I got to TV, to have more confidence in the ring and just being an overall better in-ring performer.
All right, question 3, Mark Shurman. This is going to be a Festivus for you, if anything. Question 3, sir, is, with your entire dealings of professional wrestling, your entire career, who would you say you hate or strongly dislike, and will you name them? And you can name multiple people if you want.
Honestly, I don't hate anyone.
And that's why I put strongly dislike. Hate is a strong word.
Indifferent to people. Like
who?
There's no one that sticks out as you annoyed you or you dislike or you wouldn't want to hang around with.
Nothing that 5 years later I give a shit about. Like if I could, honestly, I would love to chat it up with Scotty Slade. I don't hate him at all, or anything, but I would love to patch that one up a little bit and chat it out. Just mend that fence a little bit.
There's no one in your entire dealings with professional wrestling that you dislike or don't want to be in the same room with anymore, or would never want to deal with again, or anything?
No, I mean, truthfully, I don't. I mean, one-on-one with people, I get along with them great. It's like I don't want to be in a group setting with a locker room that, like a locker room of the vets that are still there. Together, they're all
like who?
Like Shurman.
Like who?
I mean, I don't want to be. I mean, no one in particular, but I choose not to be in the chaotic locker room. You know what I mean?
Okay, so
I've been
you're
visited.
saying like the old school chaotic locker room.
Like whoever's there still, like I could definitely have a beer with Chase and the Logans outside of the Chaotic locker room.
But like you have like right now you have DL Hurst, Christian, JT Dunn, Davey N, Chris Statlander, Mike Verna.
I like them all. I mean, I get along with all of them.
But like you had a pretty long career. You really
I did.
I mean, for the most part,
4
you did.
years.
It was
5 years.
4 years of fun, but 5 years of fun. I mean, it wasn't a 15-year career, but I mean. There's people in this world that I absolutely don't want to ever deal with ever again, or people that I dislike as people. There's no one that you actually can look at and say, "Nah, fuck that guy." Or
no, I mean, no.
You realize some people will say that you're just afraid to name them.
I don't get. I mean, even
some people will say that.
Like, there's some people that like might hate. Like, I look at two different ways: in wrestling and out of wrestling. So there's people I don't like in wrestling, but I would have a beer with outside of wrestling.
Oh, see, I'm just the opposite. I mean, if people have asked me, Leo O'Connor's asked me on his show, do I hate Matt Taven? I don't hate Matt Taven. I just dislike him as a person because I've seen him do multiple things, including stuff to me that demonstrated his actual character that made me go, never again. Never again will I deal with a person like that because at his core, he is a toxic person, and when it comes for push to shove, he's going to do whatever he can to make himself better. Not.
I hear you. I personally like Taven.
I know,
He's
and that's what I'm saying.
buddies.
It's all based on perspective, and that's why I'm using him as an example. I mean,
he'd probably. I mean, I don't know what he did to you behind the scenes, but if someone personally did something, no one personally did something to me that would make me feel hate or anything like that. Like, I didn't let people do that to me. Like. You know, I mean, besides, you know, Scotty breaking up with me, I don't hate him. I just
want to patch that up.
Yeah, I honestly, I just want, you know, I'd love to, you know, apologize. I didn't know, like, just like you, Tarzan. I'm sorry that I caused you to quit booking. I don't know if that's the truth, but if you say it is, then that's your narration of it, and that's from your lenses. That's what happened. And the same with Scotty Slade. I don't know if that's the truth, but in his lenses, that's why we broke up or whatever. So I apologize. I got you to feel that way. So whether it's you, Scotty Slade, I definitely rubbed a couple of the boys the wrong way, but overall, I wasn't out to get you. I wasn't malicious. My heart was in the right place. I'm the one guy that cried in the goddamn locker room, for Christ's sake. You know, so, you know, I going back to the regret, it would probably be like, I regret getting people to not like me, or, you know, to be enough to stop wrestling, you know, booking a show for Tarzan, or stop tagging with me for Scotty. I always looked out for Scotty. I always wanted the best show for Chaotic or NEW or whatever show I wanted on. And, you know, I apologize for being tough. You know, I wasn't, you know, what I was trying to accomplish. My goal was WWE, and yes, in the moment at those times, I might have had a big head, and I didn't realize it was as bad as it was until you guys make some points.
All right.
Tarzan's a little hung up on the fact that you don't have anyone that you dislike. I think
he actually sounded sincere there.
Yeah,
I hung up on you. I'm trying to decide if you really are or not, but you definitely sounded.
You sound sincere where you said that, and you seem like you're too passionate of a guy to actually dislike anyone.
Well, I can see his point though. That you get time has gone by.
That's true.
I left wrestling I think 3 years ago now. For stuff that it mattered then, but a lot of it doesn't matter now. There's very few things I still cling to from then.
And, and I'm going to play on that.
And like, my parents still ask about Scotty Slade. Like, they were kind of heartbroken when I told, like, people were like, "Oh, is Scotty coming to your wedding?" I'm like, "Oh, we're not friends in real life." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like one of those deals. Like, it hurt. It kind of hurt.
We Were Work Party is not.
Yeah, and I actually genuinely liked him at the moment. Like, I could have been his friend if
he allowed you.
Yeah, and like, I mean, things could change. Things can change down the road. Like,
time heals.
I'd love for him to give me a call and, you know, untangle some knots.
It's one of those things where, and I'm not trying to save my character in any way, shape, or form. I personally, when I say I don't like people like Matt Taven and stuff, it's more of like,
I guarantee if you walked in the room and you guys chatted it out, you guys.
That's
would be
what I'm
good.
saying. I'm sure if we actually, and like you said, time heals all. So I think if we had a chance to hash everything, if I got to hash anything out with anyone that I ever had ill will with, but I'm very much, my personality is very much forgive, never forget. So it would be hard for me to trust that person down the road. You know
I
what
hear
mean?
you, but I agree.
So that's where I go with
All right,
that.
our final question. What, in life or in wrestling, what does the future hold for the sure thing, Mark Shurman?
But I don't know. I mean, I'm 35. Maybe I'll have a kid. Maybe I'll buy a house. I have a nice condo here, as you guys can see, and I just want to be happy. You know, I actually do miss wrestling. Like I miss the challenge, and I learned. I gained a lot of discipline and I am very grateful for the journey I had in wrestling. The highs, you gotta without the lows, there's no highs. So like eating shit along the way and learning how to wrestle is one of the toughest things I've ever did. It's like it's like learning French or Spanish. It's a trade, and I went further. My goal was WWE, but in the back of my mind, like my parents were like, you went further than we thought you would. We didn't realize you'd be like the champion of the New England scene, and we can come to your shows, like, you know. So like, I'm very happy for the journey that I didn't end up in the destination I wanted to be in, but I'm happy. I had a lot of fun in the journey, and in the future, maybe if someone needs any character advice, like Cam calls me up, and Preston sometimes, and you know, I'm willing to watch some people's stuff. Maybe not their in-ring shit, but like their promos or character advice, or you know, I'd love to help out. Like I wish Chase would let me host a chaotic club. I would love to get involved without taking a bump somehow.
Would you be open to helping like students and stuff at the school or whatever? Like,
yeah, I mean,
promo, just character
I wish I had a better relationship with Fury and Chase. You know, I do love Fury and Chase for everything that they like. Fury taught me how to wrestle, and Chase put me through some of my best matches. And you know, we might not see eye to eye all the time, but they know. Like, when push comes to shove, like
You think in their heart of hearts they know
That's it.
your entertainment value.
I think, and
Whether they want to admit it.
like I see them at like weddings and stuff, and I like weirdly I like seeing Fury. I think he weirdly likes seeing me once in a while, like maybe not every day, but a dose of each other. You know, I kind of miss seeing some of the people. You know, that's why I say I don't hate anyone. There's might be some mild heat, but like if we saw each other
Where?
1-on-1, like we'll get along. You know?
Where's this heat?
I mean, you know, it's just stupid stuff.
All right. Free plug time. Where can people find you on social media?
At Mayor McCheese NE. At Mark Shurman. Honestly, I've cut back on social media. I'm married now. I don't want my in-laws to think I'm a psychopath.
Yeah, you're
So,
pretty quiet on social media. I even forgot
once
you
I got
had it.
married, like I was like, I can't post whatever I want now. It's because like my actions affect other people around me. You know,
Anything you want to plug? Doesn't have to be wrestling.
at Mayor McCheese NE.
Don't plug Delfonso's handle.
I hear you.
All right, Julian, why don't you tell people where they can find us on social media?
All right, as always, ladies and gentlemen, you can find Truth, Justice, and the New England Pro Wrestling Way on Facebook. We are a lake page. Please go to www.facebook.com/Pro Wrestling Way, and you can find our page. You can find us on Twitter.
Was the show any good?
What's that? Truth, Justice, and the New
No,
England Pro Wrestling Way?
was this episode any good? Like
This one, I enjoyed it.
Let's let the listeners decide.
Yeah, well,
Oh,
let's just
God.
decide.
Like-
You know what? I'll put up a poll for you. This
No,
time,
I don't want any-
the poll will actually go up.
I'm kind of disappointed. I should have been more entertaining.
You're fine. We are
I
on.
took a lot of Adderall today.
It's not working.
I know.
We are on Twitter at Pro Wrestling Way. And as always, you can download this podcast on any major podcasting app that you see fit. Please like, subscribe, give us a star rating, push us up the ladder so we can be the most available and efficient podcast for you.
We do want to hear from you. We want your opinion on not only this show, but the show in general, topics you'd like to discuss, future guests you'd like to see. Were we too nice to Shurman? Were we too mean to Shurman? Whatever, but just the topic of today, getting over. We want to hear what you think it takes to get over in the world of professional wrestling.
Steroids and cocaine.
Mark Shurman, I want to thank you for being on the show.
Thank you, sir.
Really?
Yes, I got to say.
Honestly, I miss you guys. Again, I haven't seen you guys in a couple of years. Honestly, last time I saw Julian, I bumped into him at Raw when he put on weight.
When I was 20 pounds lighter than I am now.
But before that, I only knew him as a skinny guy. I know it doesn't mean, but I have not seen this you. I saw you do a backflip on Facebook through my news feed.
Yeah.
But this is, I haven't seen you.
It was a new image for you because
That's it.
you met and knew me when I was thin.
The whole time.
I grew up chubby.
I quit the business. You were still thin.
Yeah.
And I bumped into you at Raw in a pass by, and I was like, I didn't recognize you at first. And
Didn't
I was
realize
holy
time
shit,
had passed.
dude. Yeah, but honestly, I hope you're happy. And Tarzan, I heard you had a kid. Congratulations on that.
Thanks, and you might be working me, but you're the first guest I've actually kind of felt bad for. I almost feel like you are upset that of what happened with you and Scotty and you and me. I almost feel like maybe you're working me, maybe I'm.
No, I mean,
If he is, then he's still got it, ladies and gentlemen.
No, but yeah, I mean, and I didn't realize the magnitude that I had affected. But in retrospect, if it doesn't matter how I feel, it matters your perspective. Going through your lenses, I can see what drove you there, and I apologize.
And I want to.
It's same with Scotty.
Thank you. Hope you'll come again, join us again on this show sometime.
If you guys want me.
Yeah, we'd love to at some point. I mean, I'm not going to share the idea, but we'd like to have you on at some point again.
I like you guys.
All right. I want to thank you all for listening. And as always, go out, support New England wrestling, whether it be Limitless, Top Rope, Chaotic, New England Championship Wrestling, NEW. What else is that?
Beyond Wrestling, Atlantic Pro Wrestling,
XWA. Support New England wrestling. It's the greatest area of pro wrestling in the country. And please tune in again next week for another episode of Truth, Justice, and the New England Pro Wrestling Way.
Bye, Blue Chew.